All right, here we go. Back for the afternoon session of day 7 of the Darrell Brooks Sovereign Citizen Waukesha Parade Massacre trial. Um, this morning was interesting. Brooks tried to go on his rant just like yesterday. Judge Darrell shut him down. She she's done. Her patience has ended. She told him, "Stop or you're out." Welcome back, Static. So my guess for this afternoon is that he's going to wait until the jury's on its way out, as usual, and he's going to go off. I have a good feeling about him being kicked out of court today. It's Friday. He's ready to leave. He's done. A threat in the cruise trial. Didn't that end yesterday? But let's see. Lunch took a little longer than I intended. Oh, a threat to the juror. As in, what was this, a threat to the juror that voted against the death penalty? That's interesting. Let's see. One juror to another. That's I'm not gonna watch it right now because hopefully this should be starting imminently. But and of course I didn't fast forward because we were a couple minutes behind. So it's probably started a minute ago. But threats from one juror to another, that that could be a mistrial. Um, that could be a mistrial. But hang on, I'm trying to race through. Still getting stuff set up. My lunch was longer than I intended. Oh, okay. Never mind on that. But let's see. Let's take a look. pause this. Let's see. I'm working on in StreamYards, it's not wanting to let me copy the comment. So let me open this stream in a different window. And then I'll copy it. Okay, almost there. Wait for the chat to load in this one. Pause that. Skip to 144-ish. Too far. Okay. Okay, I have it open. I'm going to start Brooks. We'll take a look at that at the end. Because that could be interesting. But let's get going with Brooks now. And hit play on that. I think I'm pretty close there, so should come back soon.
Thank you. Please be seated.
So what's the guess?
Madam Clerk, when you get an
Is he gonna
I forgot my water.
get to stay in the courtroom?
And then so we have Sam. Yes. Hi, Sam.
Oh, hang on. I'll get started in 1 sec. I've got to run out and grab my phone. So hang on. Okay, sorry about that. I'm back. Hi, Sean. Nice to have you here. I think the judge, if he has a repeat of this morning, he's out. I wish she'd just gag him though, because that's allowed.
All right, I'm told well, first of all, we are back on the record. Appearances are as they were before. I'm told
You hear that,
jurors
Brooks?
are
Back on the record.
done with lunch and available for us. So I presume the state's able to call its next witness.
Yes, we're ready, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, great. Then we'll have the jurors brought out. I will go tell them since I had Madam Clerk step off the bench for me.
That was a sinister look.
Record was my ICF received.
That
I have not looked at my mail today. I can't tell you that.
I assume that's the use of force complaint he made from when he was removed from the
Also,
courtroom.
for the record, I'm appearing by special appearance on behalf of my client.
I'm sorry, sir. I can't.
You don't
Can
have
you
a
start that
client.
over?
And
That's what
over the
happens when I
break,
send you on errands.
I figured it out.
All right.
Since he doesn't
the audio is
accept
now
the
on.
name,
I did call the
he
case
is
earlier.
now
Just noted that
to
the
be known
appearances
as
they were before the jury
the mass
is on its way
murderer
in.
for the mass
And I
murderer
just will state in
formerly
case it wasn't clear.
known
Mr.
as
Brooks
Darrell
asked about an
Brooks.
inmate communication form. I have not reviewed my mail today, so I can't tell you whether I've received anything, but I'll take a look, and at the next break, if need be, we can address that.
And I just wanted to state that I'm here. I'm here under special
No, you're
appearance
not.
on behalf of my client.
That's not a thing.
With all rights reserved.
That's not a thing.
All right, I'll rise for the jury, please.
All right. And as the jury's on its way in, do all the YouTubey things. Like, subscribe, share.
Oh, okay.
I'm shocked that he's not yapping as. I mean, the jury's on its way in. That's his peak argument time.
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Statement called to next witness.
Is it going to be another officer?
Thank you, Judge. State calls Officer Christopher Moss.
Hey, I know a
Right,
guy in
officer,
high
if you
school named
please
Chris
make your
Moss.
way to the witness stand, which is on my right upper riser. When you get there, please remain standing. Raise your right hand, and my clerk, Teresa, who's on my left, will swear you in.
Exactly, Sean.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
That's definitely
Thank you,
not
sir.
the
Please
Chris
have a
Moss
seat.
I knew in high school. That one was, he was the
First
gingeriest
thing I will
ginger
ask
ever.
you to do is
But
to
now he's a
state your
bald
first
ginger.
and last names for the record and spell each.
First name is Christopher, Chrisistopher. Last name is Moss, Moss.
Thank you. Go ahead, your witness.
Thank you. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
How were you employed?
Currently employed with the City of Waukesha Police Department.
How long have you worked in law enforcement?
I've been a sworn law enforcement officer for 14 years.
All of your time was spent with the City of Waukesha Police Department?
No, ma'am.
Who else did you work for?
6.5 years was spent working for the City of Oconomowoc Police Department, and a year, or just over a year, was spent working part-time for the Village of North Prairie.
You've got to love those Wisconsin names.
Were you working for the City of
Waukesha,
Waukesha on November
Waukegan.
21 of 2021?
What,
I was.
Aponawak, was
Do you
it?
recall participating in the Waukesha Christmas parade that afternoon?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
What was your role, please?
For that event, I was tasked with the City of Waukesha Police Department's Honor Guard unit. Specifically, I was part of the Color Guard, which is
So he
the
was
group that leads
marching at the front of the
carrying,
parade.
the American flag and the state of Wisconsin flag.
And so you were there right at the beginning of the parade, correct?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
Do you remember about what time the parade kicked off?
Approximately 4 p.m.
Did you march the entire route of the parade?
I did.
Did you complete the parade
Yes, I did.
without incident?
Without incident.
And after you completed marching the parade with the color guard, did you go someplace?
Yes, upon completion of the parade route, as we were the first entity to finish since we led the parade, I subsequently
Imagine
returned
that.
to the City of Waukesha Police Department.
And why did you go back to the department?
He was on
That
duty.
evening, I was assigned to late power shift, which is from 5 p.m. to 3 a.m., and I was designated to work area 308.
That they call it power
Okay,
shift.
so
Is that because that's when the
marching the
most
parade with the color guard,
police
then you were
presence is
going to
needed?
go work a full shift that evening.
That's correct.
As you were back at the police station, what do you recall happening?
As I was changing out of my honor guard uniform into my duty uniform, I heard multiple police sirens emanating from the downtown area. I subsequently checked our reporting system and observed that there was a call for service that officers were responding to an emergency fashion reference a subject with a knife.
And where was that response directed to? What location?
frame
I believe
park?
that response was directed to the area of Frame Park in the city of Waukesha.
Did you do anything at that point?
I was still technically off duty, so I would continue to get dressed quickly in the event that they needed additional resources to that location.
And did you ever get called to that location, sir?
No, I was never called to that location.
Not that location.
What happened next?
As I continued to monitor my handheld radio while still getting dressed for duty, I heard via our primary channel fellow officers screaming hysterically on the radio, requesting people to respond to the downtown area and the parade route.
Requesting that they
What did you do?
respond.
Got dressed as the fastest I've ever gotten dressed before, and subsequently sprinted out of the police department, entered a fleet, and responded in emergency fashion to the downtown area.
Specifically, where did you go?
I arrived in the area of Clinton and Main Street.
And can you briefly describe for us what you saw when you arrived at that intersection, sir?
Upon arrival, to describe what was just absolute chaos. As I exited my fleet, I looked east and westbound on Main Street. There were civilian subjects lying on the ground in every direction I looked, screaming, yelling, etc.
Did you attempt to render aid to these individuals?
I did. I ran in a westerly direction between Clinton and Maple, attempting to render aid to 2 elderly female subjects.
So that's toward the end of the parade.
Did you,
Because Maple is the
at
last
some
cross
point,
street.
leave that duty and speak with Officer Skolton?
And
Yes, I
then Maple.
Where did you speak with
Maple
Officer
is the
Skolton?
last cross street.
In
and
the
then
vicinity
Clinton
where I
is
was,
to the
I
east
ran
of
into
it.
Officer Skolton, who approached me from a westerly direction. Upon making contact with him, he advised that he had fired rounds at a red Ford SUV, specifically an Escape. I asked him if he was okay. He stated that he was, and he subsequently said that we needed to find the vehicle.
And did you in fact set out to try and find this vehicle?
I did.
Prior to Officer Skolton telling you that, did you have any vehicle description?
I did not. The radio traffic was complete chaos with people screaming about injured participants of the parade being all over the downtown area.
So where did you go to look for the vehicle?
As I was moving my fleet near Donny Boy's Tavern on Main Street, I subsequently observed a male Hispanic running towards me, waving his hands frantically to garner my attention. And as I asked him what he needed, he subsequently stated he knew where the vehicle was.
Did you understand what he meant by that?
I clarified with him that he was speaking of the vehicle that was indeed involved in the incident in the downtown area, as well as the vehicle that Officer Skolton had fired rounds at. He confirmed this, and I subsequently told him to get into my squad car and began traveling with him.
Do you know the approximate
Because it wasn't
time
in
this was occurring?
commerce.
The subject approached me at approximately 4:49 p.m.
And so you took the citizen with you in your
So-
squad?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And did
He
he direct you
marched
to a
the
specific
entire parade
location?
route,
Yes, ma'am, he
went
did.
to the police
Where did you
station,
travel?
got dressed,
From my location where I met up
and
with this individual, we
responded
traveled westbound on Main Street.
all in
and subsequently,
49
made a
minutes.
left-hand turn to travel southbound on Maple Street. We traveled approximately 2 blocks to the area where I subsequently located the vehicle in the driveway.
How did you know it was the vehicle you were looking for?
Based off what Officer Skolton had previously described to me as a red Ford Escape, I observed a heavily damaged red Ford Escape in the driveway of 338 Maple.
very
This
heavily
particular
damaged.
vehicle was heavily damaged in the front end, I also observed that there was clothing embedded in the hood, as well as a headband with blue lighting hanging from the side mirror. Additionally, I observed a bullet hole
It was
in the windshield on the passenger side.
What
Did
group
you
was
secure
wearing
this
the
scene?
hats
did.
with
What did you do?
lighting?
As I exited my fleet,
What was
I
that? The
drew
Catholic group?
my
The
firearm
Catholic
to
community
clear the
of
vehicle to
Waukesha?
ensure that it was clear of persons that could potentially harm me based on the information that I had garnered up to this point. And after that was done and rendered clear, additional resources that came to my location, we secured it by taping off the entirety of this particular residence as well as the street.
When you cleared the vehicle, were there any subjects present inside the vehicle?
Can
There
you
were none.
imagine trying to deal with
After
obstructing
you had
frauditors?
secured the scene, did you have an
Oh
opportunity
God,
to take
I hadn't even
photographs
thought of
of
that,
of
Sean.
the vehicle?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And what device did you use to capture these photographs?
So each of our City of Waukesha police squads are
The Catholic
assigned a cell phone.
community
I believe
testified
this one in particular
yesterday,
was an iPhone. We
and
utilize that to
I think they're the
capture,
ones that had the
photographic evidence as
lighted
well.
hat.
So I utilized the cell phone from the squad.
The dance
And
teacher was
ask
2
that
days
Exhibit
ago.
number 99 be put up for the witness, please.
Go ahead.
Sir, do you see exhibit 99 on your screen? If not, it'll be up in a minute or so. Just let me know, please.
Seen
Yes,
the whole
ma'am, I
thing,
do.
Sean.
Okay. Do you
But
recognize that
After
photograph, sir?
7
ma'am.
days of testimony, it
recognize
gets a little
the
jumbled since
photograph
I'm not
to
taking
depict?
notes.
It depicts a heavily damaged Ford Escape in the driveway.
And where's this
I
location?
would have supported
338
him
Maple in the
marching
city
in
of
the
Waukesha.
parade.
Is this a photograph you took
Yes, ma'am, I took this photograph.
using your iPhone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Move to admit permission to publish, Your Honor.
I put frauditors
Exhibit
as
99
worse.
received permission to publish.
Sovereign
is
citizens are
granted with
delusional
reprehensible.
and desperate. First Amendment auditors are just assholes. There's no ideology. There's no delusion
Sir, is
there.
this what the vehicle looked
just
like when you first observed it?
There to
Yes, ma'am.
cause trouble.
And you had testified earlier that you were able to see some articles of clothing on the vehicle. Do you see those items in this photograph?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Could you please point them out? And that's a touch screen in front of you so you can mark it with a dot or an arrow or whatever you choose.
So here on the hood, near the windshield was a hat, and then clearly seen hanging from the driver's side mirror is a headband that's partially illuminated.
What do you mean illuminated?
This particular headband had multiple,
At least in
appeared to be
dealing with
blue
dangerous
LED lighting.
assholes. Like
Okay.
this was such an authorized use of force.
The
I mean, he had to be
front of the
removed from the
vehicle,
scene
it
when he
appears to me
shot.
that the
I'm
front
sure he
bumper
was
is
on
laying
paid
the
leave
ground. Is
for
that
a
accurate,
very
sir?
short time.
Objection, lead.
Overruled, you may answer.
Yes, ma'am, that's accurate.
May we take the annotations?
And
down?
that's
Yeah, we
that's
can do
it,
that.
that's
Yeah,
exactly
we
it,
can.
Steve. He's sovereign citizens
So to
are
your
a problem,
knowledge,
but
no
they
one
don't
had
intend to be. They
touched
just
or
they're
disturbed this
delusional.
vehicle, at least since the
But
time
the
you were present.
frauditors
Before
Objection,
you
seek out
photographed it.
problems.
objection, speculation.
Overruled, you may answer.
To my knowledge, no, there was no manipulation of this vehicle
Okay.
prior to my arrival.
Okay.
Jose
And,
couldn't dance
At
though.
some point, did
His
you
high
look
knee
inside the
pressure would
vehicle?
get
And
him.
I don't mean just to clear it of
His granny
persons, I mean,
glasses,
take
though,
a closer
could-
look inside the
could have
car.
participated.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And what was your purpose in doing that, sir?
Due to the nature of what was happening and the exigency of trying to identify who may have been inside the vehicle, I did locate documentation of identifying in nature.
And do you remember the name on that paperwork?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
What
So
was
with
the
an
name on the
ongoing
paperwork
threat, he
inside the
didn't have to
vehicle?
wait.
The name on the
for,
paperwork inside the vehicle was one Darrell Edward Brooks Jr.
He didn't have to
Black,
wait for a
date of
warrant
birth
to enter the
2/21
vehicle.
of 1982.
It was an
In
implement
fact,
in a
was there more than
crime,
one piece of
and
paper
they
inside the
didn't
vehicle
know if he was
containing
armed
that
and dangerous.
same
That he had
personal
just killed 6
identifying
people.
information?
Objection, speculative.
Overruled, the witness may answer.
Yes, ma'am, there was more than one.
And I've speculated about that, Sean.
I don't see a front
I
license plate
see
in this
3
photograph. Do
main
you, sir?
types of sovereign citizens.
No, ma'am.
There's true believers.
Where's the
There's
license
sovereign
plate?
citizens of
May I
convenience
draw?
Yes.
who are
Um,
desperate,
It was determined later that this is
and-
actually the license plate.
Okay.
on
will
the front.
grasp at anything. And
Not
then
from
there's
the
the
photograph, but from your
fake
recollection,
gurus,
was
the
the
Mark
rear license
Stevens.
plate clearly visible?
Objection,
But
lead.
with Brooks,
Overruled, the witness may
at
answer.
first
Yes,
I
ma'am. The
really
rear license
was
plate was
leaning
clearly
toward
visible
sovereign
on the vehicle.
citizen of convenience.
Did you attempt to
But
run
his
the
rant
license plate for this
yesterday
vehicle?
has me
Yes, I did via police radio.
more on the fence, leaning toward
What information did you
true
learn about the
believer.
registration of this vehicle?
The vehicle displayed a Wisconsin registration plate of A. Adam D. David P. Paul 9256, which listed to a Don L. Woods out of the city of Milwaukee.
Do you remember the approximate
The
location
grifters
of
are
the
the fake gurus are
street
grifters.
where Don Woods lived?
Objection, hearsay, irrelevant.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
No, I do not recall that information.
You just remember city of Milwaukee?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Okay. And the vehicle was registered to Don Woods solely?
Objection, leading, relevancy of who's it related to.
The objections are noted. I'll sustain as to the form of the question and ask Attorney Upper to rephrase.
Was the registration only in one person's name?
From what I understand, it was.
Okay. Do you know the relationship between Don Woods and
I
Darrell
doubt
Brooks?
he can have the
Objection,
fez in
speculation.
prison.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
No, ma'am, I do not know the relationship.
At a later point, as you were, well, strike that. Let me ask this. Did you remain with this vehicle for some time?
Yes, for some time.
And were other resources, law enforcement and other resources called to the area to deal with this vehicle, sir?
Yes, ma'am, they were.
And as that was occurring, are you aware of other police activity that was occurring nearby?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
And what was that, please?
I'd heard via police radio, Officer Luling advised that he was out with a subject in the 500 block of Elizabeth Street, which is just a couple blocks away.
And did you hear Officer Luling indicate a name for the subject that he was out
Is
with?
that where
Yes, I did.
he was
What was
eating
that
a
name?
sandwich?
Officer Luling aired over police radio that he was out with a male subject identifying himself as Darrell Brooks.
Objection. I object to the use of that name. I don't identify with it.
All right, sir, thank you. I don't have any other questions. We can take down 99. Oh, I'm sorry. I do have one other question about 99. I apologize, Your Honor.
Objection.
I wonder if it's going to
Overruled.
come
She may
in
answer.
as
She may
testimony.
ask.
What
Do you
kind
know
of
what time you
sandwich
snapped that photograph of
the
Exhibit 99?
good citizen
Yes, ma'am, I
homeowner
took
gave?
that photograph on
Mr.
the date in
Brooks.
question at 5:01 p.m.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. You
I
crossed,
think we'll
Mr.
hit at
Brooks.
least 150 by the end of the day.
You stated that
Sean, that the counter
you were flagged
is
down by
27
Hispanic
grounds,
male running at you waving his
87
hands. Was that fair to
objections,
say?
and 12 hearsays.
That's correct.
Do you recall his name?
I do.
And would you state it for the jury and for the record?
His name is Abel Liscato.
And do you recall if Mr. Liscano gave you any additional information during your traveling to where the vehicle was located?
During the traveling.
I don't understand your question.
You stated that Mr. Liscano got into your vehicle and you traveled to where the vehicle was located. Is that fair to say?
That's correct.
Did you learn any additional information from Mr. Liscano? How do you say it, Liscano?
Liscano.
Liscano. Did you learn during your travel to where the vehicle was located? Did you learn any additional information?
It's my
from Mr.
understanding he's
Not while we were
very
traveling to the
popular
vehicle.
in the
Liscano?
jail,
So you traveled to the vehicle
and
he
thus
saw it?
is kept in his
No,
cell.
he was trying to
most
direct
of
me
the
with the
time.
location of the red Ford Escape.
Did he say he saw anyone driving the vehicle?
Objection. hearsay.
Remember, he killed an 8-year-old.
Sustain.
Even prisoners do not like people who kill 8-year-olds.
So all he told you was where the vehicle was. He didn't tell you if he saw anyone driving it.
Objection. Hearsay.
Grounds.
It's hearsay.
The witness may answer the question as long as he does not answer with hearsay. Go ahead. Overruled.
Can you restate your question, please?
So all that the Mr. Liscano already told you was the location of the vehicle, not if he saw anyone driving?
He
I
didn't.
object. That question calls for hearsay response, Your Honor.
He
I would
didn't.
agree hearing that again. Sustained.
he didn't give a description,
Did
or at
he-
least the officer
did he at all
hasn't
tell you that
testified
he
as
saw someone
receiving
in
a
the vehicle?
description.
Objection, hearsay.
Sustained.
Grounds for the sustain.
It's
It's
hearsay.
hearsay. To ask him what Mr. Lascano told him would be hearsay.
They need to add to the counter. They need to add a sustain to the counter.
So all Mr. Lascano did was just direct you to the vehicle.
That's correct.
And that's enough.
That's all you guys talked about during your trip to the vehicle.
Objection asked and answered.
Grounds.
Sustained. It was asked, and I previously sustained the objection. So next question, please.
When you were able to locate the vehicle, where did Mr. Lascano go?
Once the vehicle was located, I had Mr. Lascano stand by in my fleet until other officers arrived to assist me, and then I transferred him over to someone else.
Do you know if he made any report at that time?
Define report.
Did he make any reports to
He,
law?
he doesn't make
law
reports.
enforcement at that
Law
time?
enforcement makes reports.
I'm not
He'd
sure if he
make a
did or not.
statement.
Do you recall Mr. Lascano yelling that there were subjects standing outside of the building where
Objection, Your
near
Honor.
the
Hold
vehicle
on. I'm
was?
going to excuse the jury while I take up a legal issue. All rise for the jury, please.
Oh, I'm guessing that this was excluded evidence. I have a feeling there was a motion to suppress. He's either opening the door or he's trying to barge through a door that the prosecution closed. One or the other is my guess, but I'm guessing it's the prosecution closed the door. Otherwise, if the defense had this evidence suppressed, the
Thank you,
judge
Steve.
probably would have stopped him. Like, are you sure you want to ask that? Like she did the first
Mr. Brooks,
day.
before I have you question this witness any further, it sounds like to me that you are attempting to offer through this witness the statements made by Mr. Lascano. If that is what you are trying to do,
Okay.
you may not do that. You will have to call Mr. Lascano as a witness if you so choose, if he's on your witness list. But that your questions are seeking to elicit
Yeah, I don't
hearsay
know
from
that
this
I've
witness. That's why I had the jury
seen
removed
specific
so we
Moorish
could
language,
I could
but
explain
it's hard to tell.
my ruling and why I'm going to direct you not to ask this witness questions about what Mr. Lascano may or may
Not
not
kicked
have
out. And that this was good of the
Directly
judge.
from his report.
But his
That would be double
report
hearsay then.
is not what
Because it's-
Mr.
it's
Lascano.
not
If you
we need
want
Mr.
Mr.
Lascano
Lascano's
here to say
words,
what he told this
call
officer.
Mr. Lascano
If you
as
are
a
attempting
witness.
to offer it for the truth of the matter asserted, which is what I believe you are doing. You're attempting to establish the veracity of something Mr. Lascano either said or didn't say through another witness. That is
If you
hearsay.
want Mr. Lascano's
So it's not
testimony,
hearsay
call him
for
as a
the,
witness.
The prosecutor to bring up,
I'm not going to talk about
She
other
can't
rulings.
give you
There's been
legal
an objection
advice.
by the state, and I'm sustaining the objection, and I'm directing you not to ask this witness
Exactly.
questions
It
that
you
would
learn it
call
from a
for
jailhouse
this
lawyer,
witness to say
but
what Mr. Lascano said.
the jailhouse lawyer
That
will
is
say,
hearsay,
well,
Jim.
this is where I
Textbook
went
hearsay.
wrong, or the judge was just corrupt, but I
think
swear
it's
it
fair
works.
for
It
the-
worked for my buddy.
for me to object to hearsay from the prosecution about along the lines of the same type
Again,
of thing.
I'm not going to have a debate on what may have come in previously. I know you've
Hearsay
made
is
a
a
number of
tricky
hearsay
issue.
objections, many of which
Just
the answers that
I
were being
mean,
provided were not hearsay.
he's objecting to hearsay
but
to
I would
direct
direct your
observations
attention
of
to
what
908.01
the vehicle
of
was
the
doing.
Wisconsin statutes. You have that book in front of you that I provided to you a number of days ago at the beginning of this trial or near the beginning of this trial,
Asking
There's
him
the
what
definitional
Mr.
section of
Lascano
the
told
statute
him
which defines
is
hearsay.
eliciting hearsay. get
It
Mr.
also- and then if
Lascano
we
on the
go
bench,
to
on the witness
908.
stand,
I
if
know
you
what
want
you're
to
saying.
question him.
0.02. That's obviously one you may want to
You can
look
ask.
at as well.
You can ask
And
the
then
officer.
90803
Did
has the
Mr.
exception. So unless you
Lascano
can give me an exception,
direct
sir, as
you
to why this
toward the vehicle?
witness should be allowed to answer
know,
those questions.
stuff like
I'm
that.
gonna, again,
I'm
direct you
reading
not to ask
directly
these
from
questions.
his report. The report
But
that
that's
that
hearsay.
he wrote.
And
Nothing
exactly,
is
Sean
coming from.
and
I'm
Steve.
reading directly from his report. That's what I
But
have to
Doesn't change
that's
the
say.
fact
hearsay.
You said what?
That doesn't change the fact that it's hearsay.
So
It
his
actually
report
creates
is
another
hearsay?
level of hearsay. It's an
Yes, his
out-of-court
report
statement.
is hearsay.
Not this witness made. but
His
what another
report
witness
is
made.
hearsay. And asking
So
him
you
about
have
what a
to,
So I can't read
separate
from his
person
report
said
that he
on his
wrote.
report is
you can't
double
ask
hearsay.
this witness questions that call for a hearsay answer unless there's no objection
It's
from the state.
double hearsay.
Or you can convince me there's an exception to the hearsay rule that applies.
The
You have an
statement,
exception
the
you'd like to offer
report
to the
is
court.
So I might as
hearsay.
well not read the report that he wrote.
But
then
there's
if
an
I can't
exception
question him
to
about
allow the report
that he wrote.
in certain circumstances.
That's your misunderstanding, sir, what is hearsay. And I all I can tell you is I'm sustaining the objection. I'm going to bring the jury back out, and we'll go from
Just
there.
call Mr. Lascano. Oh wait, your witness list
Right.
was due
And clerk
last
from the
week,
jury out.
but delayed
Clear
until
bias.
this week, and
Clear
you didn't
bias.
subpoena him. So
Mr. Brooks, I understand
I
you
don't-
may
I don't
disagree
consent to
with
or agree to
the,
being called that name.
don't
For the
interrupt.
record, again, I'm here as a third-party intervener on behalf of my client.
Don't
I don't know why
interrupt.
that's
Don't
not
be a
understood by now.
jackass. Shut up. The jury's on its way. He's
So I
so
guess I can't bring
aggravating.
up the plaintiff either, huh? Tacit agreement.
What the hell is
All right.
tacket? And failure to respond is not an agreement. It's sovereign citizen mumbo jumbo. But he only had 3 days to prepare. I mean, it's not his fault he waited till the eve of trial to fire his defense attorneys. And the reality is, the prosecutors,
thank you, everyone. Please be seated.
as has been shown, that they're professionals, so they can
Continue
get a
with
lot
your
more done in
questions,
a
sir.
lot less time than Brooks because they know what's going on.
The jury will disregard that last comment.
I don't know why.
Shut up with your
And that one as
commentary.
well.
But it's-
It's not your opportunity to testify. You'll be given an
I'm not
opportunity
testifying.
should you choose
I'm
later,
not
sir, but
testifying.
Shut up with your
question the
commentary.
witness.
If
Thank
I
you.
could ever get to it, I'll do that.
And again, the
Stop
jury will disregard that
arguing.
statement. It's not evidence.
If he argues, and his cross. It's asinine. Like I've said, my 4-year-old nephew is more
You made
mature.
reference to a hat being on the hood. Can you pull Exhibit 99 up again?
No
Are you
idea
asking
yet.
the state to do that?
I'm
sir?
guessing
Can
he
it
will.
please be pulled up and
Sure,
published?
it can, and it will.
I mean, sovereign citizens, first off, they think they know better than everyone else. So, yeah, testifying is bad for you if you do it. But I know how to do it,
The
right?
jury can let me know when it's on the screens in the jury box, please.
And I think he's just dumb enough that he doesn't realize how much peril cross-examination would be. I mean, it would be so
right.
brutal.
It's in the jury box. Continue, please.
You testified to this being the hat, right?
That's a good
That's
question.
correct.
And from this picture, can you tell what that is?
Not specifically.
But
So
he
how do
was
we know if that's a hat?
because he
from
was
looking at this
there.
picture?
He was there on the scene. He saw it.
From looking at this picture, it would be difficult to determine if that's actually a hat.
That's why they don't just put a
So it'd be fair to
photograph
say
in
you don't know
evidence
what
and let
that
the
is.
jury figure it out. They have someone who is on scene testify
Based on this
what it
picture?
is, what they saw
Based on
on the
this picture.
scene.
Based on this picture, I'm not able to determine what that item is.
Would it be also fair to say we can't even determine if that's outside or inside of the vehicle at that point?
I would disagree and say that is on the exterior of the vehicle,
And how
between
would
the
you make that
hood.
assumption if you can't tell what it is?
Objection, argumentative.
Grounds,
Sustained as to the form of the question.
can you clear that?
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
I mean, it already led to one meltdown over the attempted
You
subpoena.
can definitively say from this picture that you can tell where the item is based on this picture.
Yes,
Are you going off what you found or what you can see from the picture?
He's testifying about what he saw
I can
on
see
scene.
from this picture that that item is on the exterior of the vehicle between the hood that is destroyed and the windshield.
Oh, good job. Add in the destroyed hood.
So it's on the hood?
It is between the hood and the windshield of the vehicle.
And you can tell that from this picture.
Objection as an answer.
Grounds.
Argumentative.
Sustained as to both grounds.
I mean, that's definitely proof of the court's jurisdiction.
And from this picture, you can tell what this is,
What is?
Yes,
just from the picture.
yes.
And how do you come to that determination?
He was there. He saw
Based on the
it.
fact that it's hanging on the exterior of the vehicle from the driver's side mirror, that it is in the shape of a headband and it is partially illuminated in this photograph with LED lighting.
It could be fair to say that it's anything. Would you not say that that's fair? Just from looking at
No.
the picture, it doesn't necessarily say, or it doesn't
But
It's not
he has knowledge of
100%
what it is. He
identifiable from this
saw
picture.
it.
Would that be fair to say?
Objection, compound question.
He saw
Sustained
it
as to the form
in
of the
person.
Please rephrase.
Just from strictly looking at this picture, you can't positively say what the item is.
But has
And that's a
he
mischaracterization of his
submitted his
testimony.
fee schedule?
Sustained. Please
Because if
rephrase.
he hasn't submitted his fee schedule, it doesn't count.
Clear the photo.
Please,
You're asking Madam Clerk to please
Clear the
clear it.
photo.
please.
Mr. Brooks, I'd ask that you show some deference to my clerk and not bark orders at her and use simple courtesy. Thank you. And thank you, Madam Clerk.
Thank
Will I
you,
be
Judge.
awarded the same, Your Honor?
Please ask your next question,
Will
sir.
I be awarded the same, Your Honor?
Please ask your next question.
I will. I just want to know if I'll be
She
awarded
has
the
I have
awarded
she
the
has
same.
been
Thank you.
beyond
Please continue.
polite to you.
Did you talk to anyone who lived in the residence?
They're not, but his fee
I don't
schedule
recall the
for
specific
holding
persons I
him in
talked to or where they
jail.
resided.
The common
So it's
sovereign
fair to say you talked to
citizen.
someone.
For every minute you hold me,
There
I'm
were
charging
multiple
you
people outside of the residence in the
$10,000.
area at that time that I spoke briefly to.
But you don't know if any of them was the renter or owner of the driveway.
I do not recall.
Do you recall asking anyone if the vehicle belonged to somebody who may have stayed in that general area?
I do not recall asking that question to anyone.
You did state that you cleared.
I think they charge
area.
gold or
Would that
silver.
be fair to say?
No, I said I cleared the vehicle, not the area.
Did you clear the area?
Eventually, we did clear the back portion of the residence to ensure there were no suspects or victims.
Who is we?
Persons of law enforcement.
And did you wait until law enforcement came before you
He is law
started to do that?
enforcement.
Or did you start on your own kind of way?
Upon arrival to the location of the suspect vehicle, I was by myself, so I initially cleared the vehicle to ensure that there were no potential threats to myself When I advised dispatch that I had located the suspect vehicle, numerous officers came to assist me and were there relatively quickly to help me secure the area.
So would it be fair to say when you found the vehicle that you didn't locate anyone inside the vehicle?
Correct. No one was located
He,
inside the
he,
vehicle
he
at
said
that
he
time.
cleared the vehicle.
And you also stated that you cleared the vehicle for possible threats to yourself. If no one was in the vehicle, what did you need to
He
clear the
didn't
vehicle?
know. He didn't
What would
know
be
if
the
you had a
threat?
bomb in there. He didn't know if
Based
there were
on,
guns,
again,
if there were
as I
weapons sitting on
earlier
the front
stated,
seat.
what had occurred in the downtown, plus the fact that Officer Skolin had fired rounds at this vehicle, I was unsure who or what may be inside the vehicle. Given the time of day, as it was becoming dusk, it was getting harder to see outside. So to ensure my own safety, I cleared it the way I earlier stated.
So would it be fair to say that, well, let me back up.
It's not fair
You
to
took this
say,
photo,
no.
correct?
That is correct.
So that would mean you were,
On the scene.
at least by that time, sure that no one was in the vehicle. Would that be fair to say?
That is correct.
He'd already cleared it.
So did you clear the vehicle before taking the picture or afterward?
I cleared the vehicle before I took the photograph.
He cleared the vehicle first
Did you
thing.
find any threats in there?
After I initially cleared it, no. It was deemed to not be a threat to my person.
Since the maniac wasn't driving it anymore.
Did you do any other investigating after you had took this photo?
Can you rephrase the question?
Did you do any other investigating after you took this photo?
That's so vague.
After the photographs were collected of the vehicle in place from multiple angles, I did locate identifying information inside the vehicle.
What I'm asking is,
Well, then ask
So, let me
clearer.
back up.
You
So
asked
that
a
was
vague
the
question.
extent of your investigation was finding whatever you found in the vehicle at that point.
Correct.
Grounds.
That's vague.
I'll withdraw.
Thank you.
Correct.
Besides which, he is he a detective? I don't think he said he's a detective. I thought he's a patrol
When you were
officer.
clearing the vehicle, would it be fair to say that you could have done the same investigational work at that time?
What the hell?
No, that would
What
not
does
be
that
fair to say.
mean?
And why not?
Clearing the vehicle
Because when
is
you're clearing a vehicle
making
to
sure
ensure
there's
that
not
there are
a
no threats
threat.
to you, you're not looking for anything specific as far as evidentiary value. You're looking for a threat to your person.
So you would clear the vehicle of threats
And then look
after
for
being in the
evidence.
vehicle to do that, and then go back into the vehicle and look for, or start investigating rather.
Correct.
Safety comes first, then
Why not do them all
investigation.
at once? Is that a procedural thing or
It's a
That's an answer,
safety
Your Honor, I
thing.
object.
grounds?
Sustained. Next question.
But are there grounds for the sustain other than not wiping properly?
Is it usually procedure to investigate later on after clearing for threats?
Yes.
Yes, you always want to ensure that where you're working on an investigation is clear of threats and that
And once
you're
again,
safe.
this isn't helping him.
Would that be the
It's
same
reminding the
protocol if you were
jury
searching
that he was a
home?
threat.
Objection relevance.
Grounds?
Sustained.
Grounds for the sustain?
Relevance.
The judge doesn't have to explain unless it's a close call.
And
She
you made
doesn't
mention
owe you an
that
explanation.
the vehicle wasn't, I guess I would say, touched or between the time that you were flagged down with the location of the vehicle until you actually observed the vehicle, you stated that you don't believe the vehicle was was touched in any
He
way in that
wasn't.
time?
He wasn't
That's in
there.
his statement of his of his testimony.
Grounds, you said something similar to that.
Sustained, as to the form of the question.
Are you sure that the vehicle was not touched in the time that you were flagged down about the location
he-
of the possible vehicle?
Between the time it was
and
flagged down
observing the vehicle?
until he got there, he wasn't there. He wouldn't
I am
know.
unaware if the vehicle was manipulated in any fashion from the time that Mr. Lascano flagged me down. and
How would he
to the time
know
that I
something
located the
that
vehicle in the
occurred
driveway.
when he wasn't there?
Do you know approximately how long it took you to get to the vehicle when you were initially flagged down about the location of the vehicle?
I do not know how long it took me to get to
Minute?
the vehicle upon being flagged down.
So it's possible that it could have been manipulated.
It's-
Yes, it's possible.
I mean, someone found a random Ford Escape parked in a yard and beat on it and put clothing on it and blood and gore. And is he? Yes, he is stupid. I was about to ask a stupid question about stupid.
At the time that you located the vehicle, were you aware of any suspect identification or name?
Can you restate your question, please?
At the time you located the vehicle, were you aware of any suspect or name of suspect?
No, I was unaware of any names of any suspect
I think
involved
they
in the
got your
incident
name
at the
from
time I
the
located the
vehicle.
vehicle.
And when did you learn of that information, if you learned of that information?
I only learned the information of a possible suspect upon locating the identifying documents inside the vehicle and subsequently providing that information to dispatch.
At the time you found that information, did you immediately regard that information to be the possible suspect?
Yes, since it was in the vehicle that was heavily damaged, the red Ford Escape with the bullet hole in the windshield, yes, I believe that that information indeed belonged to a suspect.
And at some point you ran the license plates number. Would that be fair to say?
Correct, I did.
And you also stated that it was registered to someone that was not the suspect. Would that be fair to say?
As far as I know at that, or I'm sorry, as far as I knew at that time, I did not know if the person registered the vehicle to was a suspect or not.
You also stated that you found identifying paperwork in your investigation of the vehicle. Did that information match the identity of who the vehicle was registered to?
No, the identifying information again for Mr. Brooks that was inside the vehicle did not match the registration on file with Wisconsin Department of Transportation for the registration of the vehicle.
But it's
which was
easy
Don
enough to
L. Woods.
figure out. Hey,
For
let's
the
go
record, I
after
don't identify
all these
by that
people
name.
and figure out
Yet
who
again, state
was
name
driving.
For the record.
For the record, the jury will disregard that commentary by the defendant, and it also mischaracterizes the witness's testimony.
It does not. I was just stating for the record.
And the jury will disregard that as well.
Again, the jury will disregard that
So-
commentary as Mr. Brooks is not present and testifying.
The information you found in the car, the vehicle was not registered to that person, correct?
That's correct.
So there's a possibility that at any time, multiple people can utilize that vehicle. Would that be fair to
I
say?
mean, they're hearing it.
Grounds.
Calls for
They
speculation.
are hearing
Sustained.
it.
Would you agree that
They can't
the
take it
vehicle
into
registered to one
account.
person,
what
and
he
information
says,
found
but
by another person,
It does
constitutes
impact
that
their feeling about him.
more than one person used the vehicle?
Objection.
Grounds.
Go ahead, you.
The
Grounds.
She's
the
getting
question
to it.
was, does that prove that more than one person could drive the car? That's an improper question.
That wasn't the question.
Well, sustained as to the form of the question and assumes facts not in evidence.
State that last part again.
It is a bit of a
It assumes facts, not an evidence, your question.
funny thing. The
Your next question, please.
juries are expected to be able to go on the evidence only. And it
Is it
is
fair to
a
say
tough
that
ask of them.
People leave
And there are
all
some
types
things
of
that are
information in
so
family
prejudicial
members'
that they just
vehicles at
have
any
to
time.
dismiss the
Objection.
jury and
Irrelevant
declare a
speculation.
mistrial.
Sustained.
Grounds for the sustain.
Ask your next question, Mr. Brooks, please.
May I have the grounds, please?
The objection has been sustained. Ask your next question,
That's
please.
the ground.
May I have the grounds?
The court's not answering that.
The court is under
record
no
is self-evident.
obligation to answer his
Is that a
question.
tacit agreement?
Sir, I don't know what a
Who-
tacit
who-
agreement is,
Who
so
has
please
a
keep going.
who has a phone open in the court?
Clearly know what it is.
What? Clearly, did you see him roll his eyes? Clearly, you know what a tacit agreement is. The word is tacit.
Would it be fair to say, and this is along the lines of the same question,
Oh, along the lines of the
would it
same
be fair to
question.
say that at some point you've left items in other people's vehicles?
Objection.
Grounds,
Relevance.
Sustained.
grounds for the sustain?
Next question, please, sir. I've sustained this question
It would be
multiple
funny,
times,
Static.
multiple
It wasn't
ways
the
you've
same
asked it.
question.
Next question, please.
May I have the grounds?
90611, sir.
May I have the grounds?
90611.
Next question,
Move
please.
on.
Is it to relevancy? Is it to
Under
hearsay?
90611, ask your next question or I will cut off your cross-examination. Please ask your next question,
You
sir.
have to give the grounds.
No, she doesn't.
Especially
The
if I'm
judge
really
does
just asking for the
not.
grounds
The
of
judge does
sustain.
not have to
Sir,
answer
ask your
your
next question.
questions. He's irritable
What's the point of
today,
me asking questions if
and
I
the
can't
judge
answer
is
them?
not
The
taking
jury
it.
will disregard his commentary
She's done.
that he just stated right now.
He might yet get kicked out. It's 3:00, approaching 3:00 Wisconsin time. The judge wants to be over by 4:30 today. So hour and 34 minutes to go ish. That's enough time for him to get kicked
you
out
recall
if he continues
speaking
with this
to-
commentary.
Well, you said you spoke to a few people. You didn't know if they were the owner of the house or the driveway or the renter. Would that be fair to say?
Yes, that's correct.
It's almost like there were
Did anyone you
thousands
spoke
of
to
people
give
there.
you a description of a possible driver?
I was given multiple descriptions by multiple parties.
I've heard of a couple bars along
of
Main Street
multiple
in
suspects that had
Waukesha.
fled the
That-
vicinity of the vehicle.
Like I said, I'm not a drinker, but I'd
And
go
what
in
do you
and
mean by multiple
buy some
descriptions
pub
of
food or
multiple
something and
suspects?
support them.
2, 3, 4 people, 5?
I was given information that one male black suspect that was taller, wearing blue pants and black, had run southbound on Maple towards College. Additionally, I was given information that two shorter male blacks wearing gray sweatpants had run in a westerly direction from behind the residence at 338 Maple. And then later, I was also given
But once
another
again,
description.
there's
of a
multiple
male
people
black,
running because
unknown height,
it's
wearing
just
like a gray
pandemonium
sweatshirt and pants.
from a
You said medium height
terrorist
for the last description?
event.
Unknown height.
I know. Okay, I'm sorry. I know. Did anyone you talked to report the sound of a crash?
No, no one I spoke to at this location reported anything regarding the sound of a crash.
Did you see any signs that there may have been a crash once you and other officers
The
were
hood was
securing
like
the area?
that.
As far
The
as
fenders
the
were
vicinity around the vehicle or the vehicle
smashed?
itself.
The general area.
As far as the general area, given the time of day, I was unable to determine if there was any signs of a crash.
I mean, we
in
heard
that
from the
vicinity.
off-duty police officer walking his dog. He heard the crash. I mean, but my point though
When
was
talking to the
when he
people
receives
that you,
conflicting
uh,
reports, one
while talking
black
to the
male
people that
running
gave you
this
the
way,
descriptions,
two young black males running the other way.
did
It's
they
people are running all over
identify
the place because
themselves as living close
they're not sure
or
if
living
it's
in
safe yet. So
any of the houses in
everyone's
that area?
running.
No, due to the chaotic nature of the event, I did not ascertain where these individuals lived or if they were associated with any neighboring residents.
Do you know if they made any other statements to any other
It's the
law
black hole
enforcement that was
theory.
there
He's so
present with
dense
you
it
at
sucked
that time?
everyone into him.
Not to my knowledge.
Why do you think you received so many different descriptions of suspects?
Multiple people from multiple angles observed different things, and there was a lot of people there. It was a very chaotic event. Even this particular scene was chaotic and hectic with numerous people coming to and from. So it was difficult to
It
determine
would be
that information.
he's still in control though. He has
Did
the
any of the people that
responsibility
you
to
spoke with
override autopilot. If it tries to take him through a
give any
freight,
reason to
he has the responsibility to
why
stop
the
it.
suspects that they identified were run from the scene?
Objection. Speculation
Grounds.
also calls for hearsay.
If it were a
Sustained.
2018 Honda Odyssey
Wow.
van though,
Next question, sir.
but only if he had ugly red glasses. No, that's true. That's true. It definitely goes to motive, but he still would be on trial and facing a long prison sentence.
Do you recall any of the officers that were
Looks like you have the
securing the
same
scene with you
opinion
having
of
a canine
Tesla as
present?
I do, Steve.
Yes, I do.
And
I look forward
do
to
you
great
recall
electric
what officer
cars.
that was?
I don't view
That was
Tesla as
Officer
one of them.
Bausman, who's a canine
At least
handler
not
with
at
the
this
City of
point.
Waukesha Police Department.
And eventually you left the scene where the vehicle was
That's
found and
BMW doing that,
uh,
isn't it?
started searching the area?
Heated seat
Yes,
subscription.
I transferred command of that location to Officer Butron, had him remain at that scene for scene security with additional City of Brookfield officer. And then myself, Canine Officer Bausman, and numerous other police officers from various departments conducted an area search as we were conducting a canine track. Based on the information I had obtained,
See, I
multiple
love
suspects
classic
running from the
sports
area.
cars, and the only way I get to drive them in the future is if overall
And do
emissions
you recall what
shrink.
time you went
And
back
so,
to where you
even as a
initially
gearhead
observed the
myself,
vehicle?
electric cars have to take
I do
over
not
for the
know,
most part for
recall what time
everyday
I made it
travel.
back, but it was some hours later.
And did you go back to your department after leaving from the scene where you found the vehicle?
That's such BS.
Yes, I was
That-
directed by my
and
command
then
staff
there's
to
the
return to
whole
the police
right to
department as the
repair,
scene was still secured by other
and
law enforcement officers of various
it's
agencies.
just such a
And were
scummy
you
business model.
instructed to make contact with anyone at that point?
Yes, I was.
Do you recall who?
I do.
May you state for the jury and for the record?
For the jury
Yes,
and
upon
for
arrival
the
to the police
record.
department, I was directed to make contact with District Attorney Sue Opper.
That's true. That's true.
And when you say Sue Opper, are you
I'm in
referring
favor of
to
thorium
District
nuclear
Attorney Sue
power.
Opper?
Yes, that's what I said.
Is she here in court today?
Yes, she is.
Can you point her out for the jury?
She's seated at the prosecution table wearing the gray cardigan.
Let the record reflect that the witness has identified Attorney Hopper.
No objection, Your Honor.
The record will so reflect.
And do you recall what the nature of the contact was with Attorney Hopper?
Yes, I was
Trial prep,
directed to locate
subpoena.
Attorney Hopper in the downtown area at the scene of the parade incident
Oh,
and subsequently transport her back to the city of Waukesha.
so
Police
he was
Department.
showing her.
So I'm assuming make contact with her at the parade. So you went and picked her up?
That's correct. I picked her up in the area of Maple in Wisconsin. Correction, I'm sorry. The area of Maple and Main Street.
And did you continue that contact?
It definitely
After
windmills and solar
picking her
can't
up?
be the
And where
whole
did-
grid.
let me
but
back
the-
up. Where did you go
They
after
definitely will play their
picking up
part.
Attorney
But
Hopper?
we
As I stated, we once I picked her up, I transported her back to the city of Waukesha Police Department.
And did you continue to have contact at that point?
I did.
And what was the nature of that
unicorn
contact?
farts will. It's just they're hard to
District Attorney
capture.
Hopper and I worked together to draft a search warrant for the 2010 red Ford Escape SUV that was in the driveway of 338 Maple Street.
Oh, so
You said a
so they
search
got a
warrant?
warrant to do the
Correct.
actual search once they had cleared it to make sure it wasn't an ongoing threat.
Initially, when you secured the vehicle and then investigated the
That's the
vehicle
exigent
after securing
circumstances,
it,
making sure it's not a threat, and then getting a
what
warrant
did
to
you
search
need
it.
to search for at that point that you needed a search warrant?
After I cleared the vehicle
Cow
and
farts are
located those items of
interesting.
identifying
I
nature,
actually,
that was done due to the
they talk the
exigency of
methane
the
from
event
cow farts
and
and cow
identifying any
burps
outstanding suspects.
are
After that was done,
a
I
major
photographed in place, I
greenhouse
resecured
gas.
the vehicle,
But
and
I read
it
a
was no longer touched at
it's
that
a
point.
small
So
study, but
therefore, later on, I
feeding
was required to have a
cows
search warrant to
red
continue processing that
seaweed
vehicle for items of
reduces
evidentiary
the
value.
cow emissions considerably.
So you just stated that the vehicle wasn't touched between those times. So what if anything new did you need to search for?
Objection, argumentative.
Grounds.
They'd be searching
well, he may answer.
for fingerprints, for
The basis of the search warrant was to
Fibers for-
ensure that, again, any items of evidentiary value I may have overlooked due to, again, the exigency of trying to find identifying information of an outstanding suspect, as well as clearing the
cows
vehicle
would
for
look
safety
awfully
reasons.
funny with
That is
diapers
the
with hoses coming
purpose of
out
the
of them.
search warrant is to do a more slow, methodical search of the vehicle for said items of evidentiary value.
But it would be fair to say that after initially clearing the vehicle, for, as you said, for any possible threats to you, and investigating the vehicle further a second time, what did you feel would be of evidentiary value at that point that you hadn't already
Evidentiary
observed
value.
before?
Objection. Asked and answered.
Grounds.
Argumentative.
Grounds, I'm referring to him stating the evidentiary value.
Evidentiary value.
So what was the evidentiary value that you were looking for?
Same
With this-
objection.
with the search warrant?
It's the
Evidentiary.
same question a different way, so I'm going to sustain it. It's been asked, it's been answered. Next question, please.
Did you find any?
Can you give an
Did you
example
find
of what
anything further
evidentiary
after
value is?
receiving the search warrant?
Something of evidentiary value can really be anything that's pertinent to the case. An example would be like a shell casing or a
Lifting
spot of blood
fingerprints
that can
from
render
the
DNA
steering
results,
wheel,
things of that
the
nature.
DNA results from
Did
touch.
you find any of those
DNA.
things when obtaining the search warrant?
Objection.
Whereas they
Wow.
wouldn't have been searching for those
Factually
things.
Inaccurate, Your Honor.
It assumes a fact, not
Clearing
an evidence. I'll sustain the
vehicle.
objection as to the form of the question.
since those
Did you
fingerprints
find
don't matter to
upon
safety.
obtaining the search warrant, were you able to find anything of evidentiary value?
Same objection, assumes a
Grounds.
fact, not an evidence, Your Honor.
Sustained, it assumes facts, not an evidence.
Evidentiary value.
Please rephrase and establish a foundation related to whether this witness performed that subsequent search.
Oh, that's it. He was shooting daggers out of his eyes at
After
the judge
obtaining the
there.
search warrant, did you yourself go back and search the vehicle?
No,
Do you recall what officer was dispatched to do to execute
And
the search warrant?
That's actually, Steve, one
no,
of
I
the
do not
reasons
know
I
who,
mentioned the
ultimately searched the
thorium
vehicle for items
nuclear
of
power
evidentiary
is
value.
they're scalable, and so you can build them more
Do you recall
locally
if the vehicle
instead of
was being towed from that
having
area?
long
at
distance
some point?
transmission lines.
Yes, the vehicle was removed at some
Since
point. I do not
You
know when or
lose
by
so
whom.
much
Do you recall where it
electricity
was moved to?
per mile travel.
I do not know where the vehicle was moved to.
You stated earlier that you did observe a gunshot in the windshield. Did you notice any other bullet marks?
No, the only mark
Come on.
in this matter?
when I received a subpoena to testify in this manner.
Excuse me, I didn't.
When I received a subpoena to testify in this matter.
Was that subpoena
Uh,
served to you by the
Uh,
district attorney's
I
office?
think YouTube
Yes, it was.
Was it served by Attorney
refreshed
Acker?
on me. I think we
I don't
just
recall
skipped a
who
little
served
bit.
me directly. I believe it was via electronic.
Do you recall when you received that subpoena?
I think we skipped a little bit.
I don't recall the exact date, but it
I
was a few
think we
months
went
ago.
live.
So it's pretty recent, but a little time since you
Exactly.
received it.
The internet's fed
Yes,
up
that's
with
fair to
them. It
say.
said, all right, let's refresh, go live. And I don't want to try to figure out where I was, so. The internet saying, it's Friday afternoon. Can't I have an early weekend?
Would you by chance know who the plaintiff is in this matter?
Shut him
Grounds.
down, shut him down,
Grounds.
shut him down.
Sustained.
Ever seen or talked to the plaintiff? Had any physical interaction with the plaintiff in this matter?
90611.
Objection, vague and compound
Grounds.
question.
90611.
You even know if there's a plaintiff in this matter?
Come on, Judge.
Objection,
Grounds.
90611.
Sustained.
You know who filed the complaint in this matter?
90611. Shut him down.
The complaint was filed by the district attorney's office.
Do you know if it was filed by Attorney Acker?
I don't know particularly who filed the complaint. I just know it was by the Waukesha County District Attorney's Office.
And during your time in law enforcement, would it be fair to say that whoever files the complaint is a party to the matter?
No.
Objection,
Grounds.
beyond the scope of the witness's knowledge,
Grounds.
Your Honor.
It calls for a legal
Sustained.
conclusion. It's
Next
Grounds for
irrelevant.
the sustained, Your Honor?
Next question, please.
90611.
Any reason why the state of Wisconsin would be identified as the plaintiff when they did not file the
90611.
complaint?
Objection,
Grounds.
argumentative, misstatement of the law.
Grounds.
Sustained.
Grounds for the sustained, Your Honor.
Ask your next question, please.
Come on, Judge. I know you can do it. You've done it before.
Was that the
90611.
grounds?
Next
Move
question, please.
on.
The jury deserves to know this.
The jury will disregard that last statement.
They need to know.
I've sustained the objection, sir.
Stop.
Ask your next question,
Arguing.
please.
I'm aware that it was a sustained. I'm
Stop
aware. I just wanted to know the
arguing.
grounds.
Your commentary is not
Can't keep
helpful.
hiding stuff from the jury.
Mr. Brooks, the court is not hiding anything from anyone, and the jury will disregard that last statement. It is not evidence in any way in this case.
Usually it's just lawyers that get bench slapped. but he's well on his way.
Would it be fair to say that any case has a plaintiff?
Objection.
Grounds.
Lack of foundation beyond the scope of the witness's knowledge.
And it's a legal
Um,
conclusion.
Sustained.
Would it be, can I rephrase the question?
90611.
Go ahead. I can't say whether it will be answered or not, but you can go ahead
But
and
I can't,
rephrase it.
I can't rephrase, just so we're clear.
She's
Whether
not
it's answered
shutting
or
you
not,
down
I can
yet.
still rephrase the question.
She's not
I-
shutting you down yet.
I don't know what the question will be, sir, so I can't make a ruling that's advisory. So ask your next question, please.
Are you aware that
Are you
In
aware of Rule
case-
90611?
brought into a courtroom, there has to be a plaintiff?
Objection.
Grounds.
Same question.
Grounds is
It
not
also
the same
misstates
question.
the law, so sustained.
There's no plaintiff, how's their case?
Move to strike.
The jury will
They
disregard
didn't
the
say
last
there's no
comment and
plaintiff.
statement made by Mr. Brooks.
Grounds. There's a defendant, there has to be a
misstatement.
plaintiff.
Shut him down.
It's not
90611,
relevant.
Judge.
This jury will be the
90611.
judge of the facts. The court is the judge of the law. Please continue, sir, or under 90611, I will stop the cross-examination.
If there's a defendant, there has to be a plaintiff.
Okay, shut him down. Shut him down.
Please stop. The jury will also disregard that statement. It's a mischaracterization of the law. It's a misstatement of the law.
Based on what
And
law?
it's not
affecting?
evidence.
And I'll address that with Mr. Brooks once again after the jury has been excused. One final time, you may ask another question. Otherwise,
At this
I will-
point,
and it must not
I
be
wouldn't
along
even
the
say
same
he gets
lines,
it from
or under
Judge
90611, I will ask the state whether there's any redirect.
You're going to ask a question or argue?
Do you know
Oh.
of anyone who filed a claim in
Okay,
this matter?
shut him down.
Objection.
Grounds,
Irrelevant.
grounds.
It's also vague, so I'll sustain it.
So the grounds is vagueness.
That's what she
Irrelevant.
said.
Is it vague or is it relevant?
Sustain, Mr. Brooks. Next question.
On the bright side for Judge Judy, she's an arbitrator at this point. She's a retired judge. She's an arbitrator for entertainment. So she can actually be rude. In fact, I'm sure it's in their contract to appear on Judge Judy.
So since your initial night of investigation, you've done no investigation since then in this matter?
He's not a detective. He's not the detective on the case.
And have you seen any news reports?
Objection.
We-
Relevance.
Can I finish the question?
It's irrelevant if he's
Um,
seen news reports.
You can, there's been no identification, so under 90611, meaning of, I'm going to sustain the objection without hearing the rest of the question. I don't see how it would have any relevance. I'll let you make an offer of proof after we're outside the presence of the jury, and if necessary, you can recall this witness.
I can't comment
Next question.
because I never saw her as a real
In
judge.
that case, then, since that is stated on the record, no further questions. I would like to finish at some point.
I mean, yelling at
So,
attorneys
finish
is
your
one thing.
cross-exam as to
Just
that
say no
limited
further
to-
questions.
Okay, but as to that limited topic only. So if there are other things outside that topic, please finish your questioning.
I just said 2 times. I'm gonna say it again. No
Stop
further
arguing.
questions.
All right, thank you, then,
Stop
sir.
arguing.
Does it have any
Don't
redirect?
be
No,
a
nothing else.
dick.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, thank you.
It's
You may be excused.
okay. That's the new acronym. DBAD. Don't be a dick.
I'm going to excuse the jury momentarily to take up a legal issue with the parties, and hopefully we'll have you brought back out shortly.
Yeah, shake
You
your
can use
head,
this
roll your
opportunity
eyes.
for a
The
comfort
jury's
break,
still there. He's such a child. such a child. And here comes the bench slap. She is so over him.
Please be seated.
See, I actually want to do
You may make an
a
offer
judge
of proof,
show,
sir, as it relates
but do
to
it on like
why
HBO or
or what
Showtime.
questions and what
where-
information you believe this
where
officer
I
would provide about
Have scantily
news
clad
reports that he has
bailiffs
seen.
and just be real over the
So
top.
offer of proof would just be to that one question.
What would the question be?
The question was, would have been, if I was allowed to finish it, had he seen any news reports directly connected to the incident?
But what's the
The same
relevance for
thing
him?
He's
that
not
many other witnesses
testifying
have been
about
asked, and it
What
was
he
never,
saw on news
it
reports.
was never sustained in. It was never even objected to.
Sustained.
So it was the same. It was
Let's
essentially
focus
one of
on
the same
the
questions.
specific objection that was posed and my
And what was the
Just
grounds
willingness
for it?
because
to give
it
you
wasn't
an
objected
opportunity to
with
provide the
previous
court with an offer
witnesses
of proof. This
doesn't
was
mean
a,
it can't be objected
what
to
relevance
now.
would this particular witness seeing news reports have to his testimony?
The same thing that any other witness that was asked the same question.
Which would be what? You have to be specific, sir.
I
I'm not
was
gonna
specific.
I'm not gonna
Have they
assume I
saw-
understand what you are saying.
Why is it
Have they
relevant?
saw any reports related to the
And
incident?
why
That's
is
the
it
same
relevant
question
is
that's
what
been
she's
asked by
asking.
Well,
numerous
there would be a
witnesses.
follow-up to that. So how is it relevant to this witness's testimony?
It's relevant to anyone who gets on the stand.
How?
What's the legal basis you believe
How
it's
is it
relevant
relevant?
to his testimony?
Is it
sir?
relevant because it impeaches them?
It obviously
because it
forms an
impacts their
opinion.
credibility?
Again, I'm not, you need to explain to me, sir,
Once again,
the
just
legal
because they
basis why
didn't
you
object
believe I should
with
allow that
previous
witness to be
witnesses
asked that
doesn't
question and then
mean
any
they
follow-up
couldn't
based on his
have.
response.
It could
What
be
would have been the
they
follow-up?
let it go until
It
then,
I'm
but
asking
now
you,
they're
sir,
fed
and
up.
got
you're the one
answered.
who's the
and objecting
proponent
to
of this
everything.
particular testimony and this questioning and the evidence. So explain to me your legal basis for why you believe it's,
Because he needs
relevant
to. The jury
ask
deserves to hear
or
it.
any other reason, any legal basis you believe it's that I should allow that question to be asked.
I don't understand how you want me to answer that. I've stated the reason why I asked the question.
No, you stated it's obvious, but it's not obvious to me, so I'm asking you to explain it.
I also stated that I just clearly stated
Oh, here comes
Clearly.
the tears. Here comes the tears.
that it goes towards
It goes towards what?
biasness.
You didn't say
I'm
that.
That
sorry, it
would be
goes to what?
relevant.
Wait,
You
it goes
did
to what?
not say it goes to
Biased.
biases. That's
Bias?
the first time you
Biased.
said it.
No, bias, BIAS. Not, there's no T at the end.
Oh,
I want to make sure I understand your
Sounds
reasoning
like how
correctly,
I
sir.
could
So
correct something.
it's,
How I
you're
pronounce
saying it
something.
goes to bias. How does it go to bias of this witness, sir?
How would it not go to if you see something in the news?
It's not a proper legal
It's not a
argument, sir.
bias.
Okay, well, I don't know how you
Did
want
it
me to
impact
answer
How
that.
would
your
what he
testimony?
saw
Did it-
subsequent to his investigation impact either what he did beforehand or his testimony here? You have to make an offer of proof as to that. Without that, I'm not going to allow it.
You didn't allow it anyway, so what do it matter at this
She-
point?
she
I'm giving you the
didn't allow it
opportunity.
here.
It's called an offer of proof.
Okay,
I said I
know
would
what-
recall the
I'm well
witness
aware-
if I
I'm well
determine.
aware what an offer of proof is. I'm
Okay,
well
No,
aware.
you're
so
not.
make your offer of proof.
I don't need to. It's clear.
Uh,
It's very clear. I don't
Conclusory
see anything
statements
funny
are not
here.
an offer of
It's not
proof.
funny, sir. It's just, it's a circular argument. It's, you're
I
telling me
wasn't
that
referring
it's
to you.
clear.
I wasn't referring that to you. The person that was referred to know who they are.
Oh,
Well, let's stay on task,
and
please.
who's that?
So
I'm trying
it go,
to. but
you're
it's
claiming
hard.
it goes to bias,
May I
but
say
in
this?
what
May I say
way?
this for the record, Your Honor? It's hard to stay on task when it seems like the
When
prosecution can
when the
ask
mean
essentially
prosecutors are
anything they want to
objecting.
ask.
No,
Mr.
they
Brooks,
But then when I object,
I had
Wait,
an
wait.
objection before. Well, here's the thing. You want to go off
It's
target
because
and you want to
It's not
bring
off
up
target.
things from the
asking
past.
appropriate
I
questions.
can't explain
You
to you
are
why
asking
sometimes the
objectionable
state
questions.
has an objection and other times they don't. But
That's not what I asked.
when an objection has been made, it is my obligation to rule on it. And so there was an objection.
I'm aware of that, Your Honor, but I'm also aware of the fact, and it's clear that I object quite often, and every single time I
they aren't
object
allowed to ax.
it's just thrown to the side every single time.
Well, I would disagree
Because
with that characterization,
don't
sir.
understand
I make my
what
rulings
you're
in this
doing.
Why would
case
you disagree
based,
with that?
I'm like
Can
an
you point out one
umpire.
time?
I'm like an umpire in a baseball game, sir. I call and see the legal objections as I
Exactly.
see them. That is my role, and that is what I
And
do.
she's been doing a
And-
very
Are
good
you
job at
kidding
it.
me?
In fact,
That's,
she
that's
has
exactly
been
what I do. I'm an umpire,
very
sir.
lenient.
I am a referee
strike
in this
zone
trial.
If you're the
for
Uh,
Brooks.
And
umpire
let me
is much
finish.
bigger.
Let me finish,
okay,
Mr. Brooks.
I
Well,
apologize. I'm late.
So-
The strike zones are different between
Sometimes
Brooks
parties make
and the
objections,
prosecution.
sometimes
She's
they
going
don't. There can be
way
a
easier on
variety of
him.
reasons. You make a lot of objections in this case.
Most of them are in
From
bad
my
faith.
perspective, okay,
Most of them have
You-
not been in good faith.
make a number of objections. I rule on them and you disagree with them. But that doesn't mean I'm casting things aside. I'm making a call based
Exactly.
on the rules of evidence.
Imagine if
So,
umpires
for
had
example, if
the
there's
power to
a
gag
relevance
players.
objection, I'm going to analyze that, okay, based on the objection that's been made. Sometimes I might think there's another basis for something to either come in or not come in. But my rule book, okay, is
She-
the
she
rules
has
of
shown
evidence,
you
which
the
are the
rule book.
statutes.
You
which
have
are,
it
once
on
again,
your
I'll point
table.
out, I gave you, sir, near the beginning of this trial, so that you would have a better understanding of what those rules are.
And
If
yet you
choose not to read
still
them,
refuse
that's
to
fine.
read them. You have
But you
not
cannot
read
then
what
claim
hearsay is.
there is somehow foul play because you haven't read them and you don't understand what they are.
It's
Your
your
ignorance
fault
of the law
for firing
not
your
a defense
attorneys on the eve of
for
trial.
any of this. Okay, and you getting frustrated with
warned.
me because you don't understand that. I mean, it's just what it is. But I'm calling these legal shots as I
It's
see them.
not her fault that
And
you're
I will-
frustrated by your
I've
lack
asked
of
you
knowledge.
repeatedly for an offer of proof. You want to ask this witness who had limited involvement regarding a part of an investigation related to
He
that
couldn't-
vehicle.
He couldn't pronounce
I don't see the
adversarial.
relevance, even to bias, for which I will allow him to answer that. You haven't given me a legal or factual reason to overrule the objection and to bring the witness back on the stand and to question him
I
about
have a
his
feeling
viewing of
they're going to
any
have a potty
news
break.
reports. So with
When
that,
they come back,
we are going to take
he's
a
either
very
not
short
there,
break. The jury's been out for a little bit, but I
or
recognize it's 3:25. It will be a good opportunity for a comfort break.
he
And when
might
we
come
come
back
back
in
on,
tears.
the state should be prepared to call the next
Can I
witness.
at least rebuttal to what you just said, since you
I
actually
don't
No,
need a
got to-
she's
rebuttal, sir. You
ruled.
may not agree with me,
She's
but
done.
I've made
It's not
my
about agreeing. You
record.
just
She's
told me not
done.
to interrupt you, and I did.
She's done.
So I at
she's-
least
she's
deserve
done
the
with
chance
your
to put on the
argument.
record.
No, you
But
made
what-
your
What
argument.
would you like to
She's
put on
done.
the record as it relates to the specific issue for which I was giving you the opportunity to be heard? Not anything else, not subject matter jurisdiction, not
Not treason.
Now, you
whether
said
the
that. I
state's
didn't-
doing
I didn't
other
even
things.
bring that
I'm
up, Your Honor.
only asking you to address the offer of proof.
No,
If
I
you
want
have
to.
something, go ahead.
I
but
wanna-
only as it relates
I
to
want to
that.
address your position because you said you're like the umpire, right?
Well, I'm not getting, okay, go ahead, sir. I'm not sure why you need to respond to
Because-
that.
Because it needs to be on the record.
No, it
if you're
does
the
not.
umpire,
She's-
that means you're the referee.
She has been
what
overly
I'm saying.
easy on
and when
you.
you're not reffing fair.
That's
if
right.
the jury's
She's
not
been
allowed to hear
easier
things that
on
they-
you
that's
than she
important for
has
them
on
to
the
know.
prosecution.
I respectfully disagree, sir. Again, just because you
She has gone
believe
easy on
the
you.
law means you have a right to question all these witnesses about
You think the
who the
rules of
plaintiff
evidence
is
don't apply
and
to you.
about subject matter jurisdiction.
That's not
I didn't
doesn't
bias
make
question
on
it
her
anybody
so.
about that.
part. That's not
Okay?
unfairness on
That
her
was,
doesn't
that was
make it
between you
so.
and
That's
I. That
holding
didn't have nothing
you-
to do with a witness.
responsible to
I've
knowing
never
the
once
rules.
questioned the
these
witness about
witnesses,
subject
sir,
matter
about
jurisdiction.
whether they
I mean, this
are
is
aware
like
of complaints. And
Gee.
the funny thing is, sir, I sometimes
If
let
she's
that
a
question
referee-
be answered
if
For
one team
reasons that
complains,
are
how dare
completely
you
different,
call
I
me for
believe, than why you want
traveling?
them in. I am not going to
That's
explain that because I
unfair.
don't
You
have
can't
to
say
You're
why.
explain that.
expected
What's my
to know the
reason for asking?
rules.
Well, I believe you've made it very clear, sir. So here's the bottom
I
line.
don't.
One of my roles is to be the umpire.
Then you got to
All
be
right.
fair, Your Honor. You're a
She's-
public
I
servant.
am fair,
Oh,
and I'm
No,
you're
going
a
to
public
follow the
not
rules
being
of
fair.
You're a
evidence,
public
Your
sir.
Honor,
That
this is
doesn't
why I
mean
say that.
unfettered questioning
This is
of
why I say that.
witnesses
She's a public
that are
servant.
not relevant or that call for hearsay or for a variety of other reasons that are speculative. There's a whole host of reasons in the rules of evidence, sir, that require
That
me
you have
to make
refused
those
to read.
determinations.
You're not being
I
fair.
respect
You're not
that
being
you
fair,
might
though.
not think it's always fair, but
It's
I
not.
disagree with the
Has been,
characterization.
if
I
she's
think
been
it has more
unfair,
to
it's
do
been to the
with
prosecution.
your lack of understanding of the rules of evidence and the rules of procedure, which you knowingly and freely and voluntarily and deliberately made a choice to represent yourself. And
Exactly.
And you keep
I
saying
warned
that
you at
because
that
it sounds
time,
good
sir.
on the
You did
record,
that
but
at
it's
your
not.
peril.
It's not accurate. You
It-
accept it. When
She
you gave me the
told
paperwork,
you.
Your Honor.
She told you.
I gave it back to
you'd be
you.
at a
I'm not going in, I
disadvantage.
didn't say that, sir.
That
so we can go
paperwork
back and
where you
rehash
crossed
all
out
of those
understand.
things.
But you know you accepted
Right.
the way that I
Changes
gave you the paperwork
nothing.
back. So
And
once
And
you
I made
accept
findings
that,
on the record, which I will stand by, sir. So
and I'm not.
with that,
I'm not
we're going to
arguing.
take.
I'm not
take a
arguing your
break.
findings.
I
I'm
need
not
to come for a
arguing
Yes,
break.
the
you
findings, Your
are.
Honor.
You need to come for.
He's not. He's not going to be in the courtroom. He's not going to be in the courtroom anymore.
I would like to get through one more.
You got it.
witness today.
You got
Thank
it. You got to
We're
call
off
it
the
fair.
record, sir.
You got.
I mean, oh, he. Oh, okay. I'll be back in a minute. I'm speechless right now, so I may as well walk away for a minute. I'll be back. I agree. I understand why they do the. They're off the record, so. Oh. At some point, I don't actually know the rules. Like, I think he does have either the shock vest or the shock cuff on his ankle or something, the so that the judge or the bailiff has the tase button. I don't know the rules for usage. Whether it's I'd assume it's only for safety reasons. But it's reached the point where, oh, it would be so where's P. Barnes when you need him? I mean, he's in Coeur d'Alene, but that she has been keeping a tighter leash on him. But at some point, he at some point he forfeits his right to be there. It's he just is terminally incapable of behaving. I mean, I would have been tempted if I had the power, but and once again, I'm not positive that he has it. It could be he's shackled in place, and like I've said, that's why they have the black drapes around both his table and the prosecution table, so that they can't see the shackles, but they also don't wonder why does his table have a drape and not the other. But at some point, he forfeits his right to be in there at least for the day. Um, but this behavior we're seeing, what's his criminal record? He has an extensive criminal record, very extensive. Um, just the first link upon googling his criminal record is NBC News. Just the first link I clicked. A decades-long criminal record that includes arrests for sexual abuse, drugs, battery, domestic abuse. Um, at the time of the incident, he had 2 active cases in Milwaukee: reckless endangerment and possession of dangerous weapons by a convicted felon. Another, resisting or obstructing an officer, bail jumping, recklessly endangering safety. Um, come on. Um, recklessly endangering safety, disorderly conduct, and battery. The last 3 charges were domestic abuse. Um, let's see. There's a warrant for his arrest in Nevada, where he's accused of failing to appear in a court hearing. Um, Charged that he failed to notify authorities about a move, which he was required to do because he was on the state sex offender registry, convicted in 2006 of felony statutory sexual seduction for impregnating a 15-year-old girl. That would be Miss Robinson, who was our third witness, who he assaulted at the beginning of this incident. His records go back to a 1999 arrest, so he's got a 23-year-long criminal history for battery, 6 months behind bars, 3 years probation. Possession of THC in 2002, big deal. That shouldn't be criminal, but it is, and definitely was in 2002. 2003, misdemeanor resisting or obstructing an officer. 2005, misdemeanor obstructing an officer. 2010, pled no contest to felony strangulation and suffocation and violating his probation. 11 months behind bars and 3 years probation. 2011, misdemeanor resisting or obstructing an officer. 2011, another THC possession. And again in 2011, another THC possession and bail jumping. He's pathologically incapable of being a good boy. He can't do it. His criminal record shows he can't do it. His behavior in court shows he can't do it. I mean, showing the minimum amount of acceptable behavior isn't hard. I'm not saying don't like I'm not saying being a friendly person and someone Mr. Rogers would want to be a friend with. I'm not saying be at that level, although that's not hard either. But it's real easy to not reach the level of having everyone hate you, having every interaction just be a tedious chore. Oh, I mean, I'm this frustrated watching from 1,400 miles away. I can't imagine. Judge Darrow has the patience of a saint, and her patience is at its end. I actually think that might be the problem. He needs the THC in him to calm him down, to mellow him out. Maybe they just need to pump the jails full, hotbox the inmates, and keep them all mellow and feeling like it's a reggae concert. Exactly. Except in jail, I bet the jail officers, the guards, I'm sure are a lot quicker to put him in his place than Judge Darrow is, because they're not on a live feed. That I mean, they can't violate his rights. They can't violate his rights, but they're not in public. They're able to sit him down in the chair and put a spit mask on him and put him in solitary. Yeah. Oh, but once again, he's basically in protective custody because the fellow inmates hate him. I'm guessing it's mostly because of the infamy of his crimes. But I imagine some of it is also he's such a terrible person to interact with that even his fellow inmates hate him as a person, even not knowing what his crimes are.
Sorry, Teresa. Thank you. Be seated. I don't need an all rise one.
And Steve, I didn't miss your cruise suggestion. I just got started on my rant. I haven't forgotten about it. We'll do it. We'll do it when this ends. we'll definitely get to it. I just his behavior set me off. And I mean, I am prone to a good rant, but I really am a mild-mannered person, but he sets me off. He oh, looks like my niece has the hammock set up out in the backyard. It's a good October day out there for it. Oh, here in Utah, every October, the schools have 2 days off, a Thursday and Friday. It's the convention weekend, basically, where uh, all the teachers in the state get together for their convention, their annual convention. So my sister-in-law, well, and my brother took the day off too. Uh, they took the kids up to the Hill Air Force Base Aviation Museum yesterday, and then over to Antelope Island, which is currently a peninsula because the Great Salt Lake is in such a terrible drought. Um, and they went up to the aviation museum. The 4-year-old came over after, and he was so excited. He thought it was the best thing. I am mild mannered, Teresa. Um, most of this is for the camera, but he does get me heated, and that's saying something. It really is. He's so obnoxious that it's just it's unbelievable to me. I don't see I don't see how you can go through your life like this. I mean, even for him, it's got to get old always being in a confrontation.
Before I have the jury brought out and the
Oh,
state calls its next witness, I want to bring to the
is he going to
party's
behave?
attention that the court just now issued a decision and order in this case. I've signed it. Madam Clerk is pulling it through, and I will
What's
provide
this?
the parties with a written copy here in court. It addresses the matter of subject matter jurisdiction.
Because the court
So you're
has
gonna address it?
subject matter
No, I've issued an
jurisdiction.
order. I'm
She
going to
issued
give
an
it to
order.
you. That's why I'm addressing
She
it.
says
You
she
can
has
review it
subject
later,
matter
but
jurisdiction.
there's a written decision now denying your motion to dismiss.
She has issued a
So
finding.
is
She
that
has
including verified proof that
subject
you
matter
have
jurisdiction.
subject matter jurisdiction?
There's no such thing
It
as
has yet to be
verified
verified
proof
or
of
proven.
subject matter jurisdiction.
Mr. Brooks, you keep
That's
making
not a
that
thing.
statement, but it's a misstatement of the requirements in the law.
Exactly.
So it doesn't have to
You
be
are
proven?
going to get
No.
a written decision.
You
That's how I'm
haven't proven
addressing
that
this.
there's no
And then I'm going to
subject
have
matter
the jury brought out and
jurisdiction.
just providing courtesy copies to the parties as I had an opportunity to
Her
finalize that
issuing
over
this
the break.
written
I accept for
finding
value and return for
is-
value this
is
document.
going over and above.
Thank you for noting that.
She didn't
All
have
right,
to
move
do
the jury
it.
out. State has its next witness, I presume, ready to go?
Okay, the jury's on its way
When the
out.
jury's
He's
brought
going to
out, you may
start
call the
ranting
witness.
again. It's time for him to start ranting right now.
Is that verified proof that you have subject matter jurisdiction?
The decision and order speaks for itself, sir.
Is it verified proof that you have it?
Sir,
The jury's
I
on its
believe that
way.
answers your questions.
I don't believe so.
Unequivocally,
The jury's on
There's
its
no
way.
verified proof
Shut up.
proven yet.
Yeah, it's the same.
There's no verified proof if we're
The
in common
jury's
law or
on its way.
admiralty law. What court is this?
Once again,
sir, I believe your answers
that's
will
a
be in that
complete
decision and order.
I don't
misreading
believe
of
so.
Article 3 of the
Well, have you read it yet?
Constitution.
I don't have
The
to.
Admiralty
I accept it for
or
value and
common
return
law.
for value. So
All right, they're in there, sir.
You've given no value.
It's a final order. For
verified
purposes
proof
of
is in
appeal.
there. Verified proof
So
is in
if
there.
you'd like to challenge that, you can take that up with the appellate courts.
Verified proof is in
All
there.
rise.
Because I don't think it is.
The jury's walking in. Shut up. Stop
Proof of claim
arguing.
is not in there either. No one has a claim.
Stop arguing. That's not a thing in criminal law. Something tells me, I don't know who the next witness is. The court wants to end in 45 minutes. 43 minutes. I doubt they managed to get through a whole witness in 43 minutes.
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Statement calls next witness.
State calls Carlos Arachiga.
All right, good afternoon, Mr. Arachiga. If you would please make your way to the witness
Carlos
stand. It is all the way
Arachida,
up near me,
according
to
to
the
the
right of me.
Captions.
It is up one riser. When you get there, please remain standing. Raise your right hand, and my clerk, Teresa, will swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you, sir. Please have a seat. First thing I will ask you to do is to state your first and last names for the record and spell each.
My name is Carlos Arechiga Nolasco is my second last name. Carlos, Carlos, and then Arechiga, Arechiga, and then Nolasco, Nolasco.
Thank you. Go ahead, your witness.
Was Brooks just muttering something?
Sir, back in November of 2021, were you living here in the city of Waukesha?
Yes.
What was your home address on November 21st of 2021?
338 Maple Avenue, second unit or upper unit.
So he lives right,
Duplex?
It's a duplex.
right there.
Were
At
you
the parade
home
route.
at 338 Maple in the upper unit on the afternoon of that day, the 21st?
Yes.
Do you recall at some point hearing a noise or something that was out of place outside of your window?
Yeah. During that time, I was sitting down, and to my left is a window that looks down to the driveway. And when I was sitting down, I heard like a big scratch, sort of kind of like just a rough scratch of either metal or whatever. And as soon as I look out, because the window's right there, I just peeped open the blinds, and I was able to see that.
I'm
there
guessing it was a red
vehicle
Ford
that I
Escape.
never recognized. And as soon as I looked over, I was able to see just somebody being able to get just jump over the hood of the car, kind of dash away. And when I saw the car, I just saw that it was really beat up. And my first instinct was like, who is this? I hope our cars are okay. Wasn't really sure what was going on. Since we
Clearly, he wasn't at the
Could you
parade.
describe the vehicle for us that you saw in the driveway?
It was a red vehicle, SUV, bigger, not a sedan, not a truck, not a pickup truck. It was just a red SUV.
When you looked out your second story window at the driveway and you saw the vehicle, at that time, could you see whether there was any damage to the vehicle?
Yeah.
Actually, I answered that already.
Overruled.
It
You
wasn't-
may answer.
It wasn't asked.
Yeah, I saw damage to the vehicle. It was mostly at the hood of the car. You can see damage to the front windshield as well. I was able to even see sort of
The
kind of
objection
like
is
a little
asked
headband
and
on
answered.
the rear view mirror,
He had
or the
offered
side
it,
view
but
mirror,
it hadn't been asked.
kind of hanging right about, kind of
And he was
inside or
asking
on
it-
I guess you can
it
say.
to move it
When you looked
along
out the window,
so he could
had the
could
SUV
clarify
already
the
come to
damage.
a stop, or was it still moving?
It was at a complete stop when I looked out the window.
The person you described earlier, where did you first see that person?
Already outside of the vehicle, like I said, jumping out mostly over the hood of the car. And as soon as that happened, I instinctively kind of just shut down the blind. And since we live in a duplex, I thought it was somebody from downstairs that maybe crashed into one of our cars. Maybe they caused an accident, and I tried contacting the people downstairs right away. So I wasn't really in much of a threat, I guess you can say.
You
but I was
you
just
wouldn't
confused at
expect.
the moment.
You're
Come
sitting
back to
at your
that.
house.
I
You,
wanna
you
ask you
don't
a couple more
expect a
questions about
mass
this person
murderer
that you
to
saw.
crash in your driveway.
Was this person directly below you in your vantage point, or was it off to the side?
It was
Traction
more.
relevancy.
Overruled. He may answer.
It was more towards the side. Wasn't really below me. Sort of leaving my point of view from the window.
Did
Yeah.
you see what direction that person went after they jumped over the hood of the SUV?
It would have been sort of straight ahead, kind of towards the left of the driveway, so I couldn't see them anymore. We have two windows, one in the bedroom, one in the living room, and if I was in the bedroom, I would have been able to see exactly where they went, but they just went left from my point of view.
So would that have been toward or away from Maple?
Objection,
that would've
being the
been-
witness.
Hold on. If there's an objection, wait until I rule on it. And overruled, the witness may answer.
It was towards Maple Avenue.
Did you see that person reach Maple Avenue?
No.
Why not?
The point of view from the window doesn't really let me see towards Maple Avenue or Maple Avenue altogether.
Okay. After the person went out of your field of view, is that when you tried to contact your downstairs neighbor?
Yeah, because I assumed that it was maybe somebody they invited over because I really didn't recognize the person, and I tried contacting them to make sure they knew who it was or who the person was.
From the moment you first looked out your window and saw that SUV until the moment that the person we've been talking about went out of your field of view, did you see any other people outside your window?
No.
Did you at some point go downstairs to investigate?
Yeah, that was during me going downstairs. I was trying to contact the people downstairs because they always invite people over, and that was a vehicle I've never seen in my life. So I assumed maybe it was one of their friends, somebody. So when I went downstairs, I sort of came to the front of the vehicle. I was able to see the damage up front. The hood was really beat up. You could see it steaming a little bit. So when I contacted the neighbors, one of them actually told me that they'll ask around. He came back to me. He said, that's nobody's car. They all came out. We were all kind of surrounding it, and we were still confused as to why the car was there. And at that same time, when we were looking at the damage of the vehicle, people were leaving downtown Waukesha from Maple Avenue from the library going the other way. And some of them were running. Some of them looked scared. Some of them, one of them told us to call the cops. We were kind of confused as to why. And mostly because we saw the vehicle. And we tried not touching it. We tried just leaving it be. One of the people from downstairs called the cops, and we waited a little bit. And as soon as the cops showed up, they told us to go back
Get the
inside.
hell off the scene.
I was sort of inside for the rest of the afternoon until the car was removed.
When you first started standing around the vehicle with the other people you talked about, do you remember approximately how many people were standing around the SUV?
It would have been the three main neighbors that we have from downstairs, two of their girlfriends, I believe, and then two of their other friends would have maybe been around like 6, 7. And then my mom was also down with me, and then I was there with her. But we tried not really interacting with the vehicle. We were telling everybody not to interact with it.
And was it at that time while you were standing with those people around the SUV that you saw other people running down Maple?
Yes.
And what direction were they running?
They were heading towards the restaurant La Estacion, heading towards kind of like the train tracks, leaving from the library from Maple Avenue.
So would that be running north or running south?
I guess if you're looking at downtown Waukesha, I guess that would be north. I guess if south is heading towards downtown, north would be heading away from it.
Okay, let's put
I
up,
think he's got that turned around. I could be wrong. But I think from where he lives, north is toward Main Street and south is away.
Can we please display for the witness only exhibit number 130?
I think there's a possibility he asks it.
And can we zoom in on the right middle of the screen?
Objection. What's the relevancy?
Well, I'm going to ask you to show the witness a map that does not have the annotations.
Of course, it's possible. Although I don't think they couldn't see. They couldn't see to Maple. But I don't know if it said if they could see to Wisconsin or to West Avenue. It's possible they could have seen parts of the parade from their window, or at least the end of it as it tapered off, so still see the floats.
Sure.
Objection. What's being looked up that's not already in the exhibit? Look like something was being looked up.
If it's
Yeah.
I
not
can't
being
answer that
shown to
question.
the witness
I don't know.
or to the jury,
Is it,
It doesn't
is
matter
there-
yet.
I guess my objection would be, is there an exhibit being shown or is there being
There's
something
nothing shown
shown?
to the witness right now. It's off. Is it exhibit 135? It's not ready. Was it ever received? Not yet. So you objected, I sustained the objection. And so I told the state not to show the map with annotations.
Okay.
So whatever they're doing in response to that, I can't answer.
Something popped up on the screen to look like they was trying to Google something, and then now my screen is off now.
it's-
So that wouldn't be an exhibit.
no,
I
it's
didn't
not.
see anything.
It's not an exhibit.
So
It's
we can
not
take that up later if
displayed.
need be, but
They
let's
haven't
keep going
entered
with the
anything
question
as
of
an
the witness,
exhibit.
and we can deal with that later, outside the presence of the jury.
Just for the record, I know it's 140 exhibits, so it shouldn't be no more than that. You can't create exhibits right now.
Well,
You
we'll get
know
to any
there's
legal
140
issues later, so The
exhibits.
state can continue, please.
I'll try to clear this up without any more exhibits for Mr. Brooks. When you are standing in your driveway facing Maple Avenue, if you wanted to go to downtown Waukesha, would you go left or right?
Left.
Objection. That was asked and answered. He asked north or south, and he already answered that question.
This question has not been asked or answered, so your objection is overruled. The witness may answer.
And I'm sorry, you can answer that again.
It was left. Yeah.
And if you wanted to go to La Estacion or the train tracks, would you go left or right?
It would be right.
So the people who were
And that's
running
along
past your
Maple.
house on Maple, were they running towards downtown or were they running towards La Estacion?
Towards La
Objection.
Estacion.
Asked
Sorry,
and
was there an
answered.
objection?
Asked and answered.
It was clarification, so, his answer may stand. The objection is overruled.
Besides, nothing's been asked.
Now, at the time that you were standing around the SUV with those other people, how much time had gone past between that time and the time that you first heard the noise and looked out your window upstairs?
Objection, relevancy.
Hide the
Oh,
exhibits.
I would say that it was maybe around 2 minutes, not even that much, because I still had to get my shoes and everything. I wanted to go downstairs, and at the same time, I was texting the neighbor from downstairs. So I would say a little bit of time passed by before I went downstairs.
Can we please show for everyone exhibit number 65, a video which has previously been received?
Go ahead.
Just wait for a thumbs up from the bailiff. Okay. Do you recognize the area that's depicted in this exhibit?
Yeah.
Tell us what we're looking at here.
Right now, we're looking at sort of the side of the building that's from Les Paul that's facing my house and facing Maple Avenue. That house in the corner is my neighbor's house. I know them as the Loxes, and over there to the left, where the perimeter of the fence ends,
So this is the
that's my house
video
with the
of the
brick sort of kind of
off-duty
pillars
police
and balcony.
officer
That'd be my
walking
house.
his dog.
So I know I could see what the witness was pointing to,
We're gonna have
So
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 very
Brooks
well. I just
drove
wanted
behind
difficult
the
for me to
houses
put that on the record, so
across
if
the
you can
street,
have some further questions.
turned
that
off
would
of
be
the
good.
cross
that screen
street.
in front of you is a
on-
touch screen, as long as you use your
Okay.
finger. Can you circle your house for us?
It would be right here.
And we're at the
So
0
that's
second
right where the
timestamp on this.
off-duty police
Correct.
officer says he saw
And
Brooks
then if you
crash.
Clear that, please.
Well, heard Brooks crash and then saw him run away.
Now I'm gonna ask Ms. Gussie to pull up the Zoom tool again. And we've zoomed in on the top left quadrant of this photo, of this video. If we could play here from the beginning.
Objection was the relevancy.
Overruled. It's been admitted already. He testified his house is in it.
We see the off-duty police officer walking his dog with his daughter.
Pause pause.
and we see Brooks running out
At
from
the
behind the
27-second
houses
mark.
in
Pause
his
there.
white
Sir, do
or
you
light
recall,
gray hoodie.
well, let me just back up there. Did you see on the video there a figure emerging from your driveway?
Yeah,
Could you circle that figure for us?
right here, and
Okay,
then
thank you.
right there as well. Where
And what's the second thing you circled?
Where
just the
he
vehicle.
was. He's showing
Let's give us
motion.
two circles, please. Does that figure, understanding the limitations of how far away this camera is, does that figure appear to be consistent with the figure you saw hopping over the hood of the SUV?
Objection, speculative.
It's not speculative.
Overruled, the witness may answer.
It's confirming
At
what
the
he
time
saw.
of my sort of testimony, when we got a visit from detectives, I told them that I did see a figure. I remember saying that he had a hoodie. At the time, I told them that I wasn't really sure of the color of it, and
It's because it's
when
either
we
white
were,
or light gray. It's hard to
when I was
tell.
asked again the next morning, I just told them that maybe it was like a gray or white, but I told them that maybe it was part of the stuff that I saw on top of the car. I remember seeing scarves on top of the car. That headband that was white with
Oh,
colors.
but
So at
the,
the time it was like a flash.
but the
And
last
I
up-
was
the police officer testified it
what's
was
it
a
called?
hat
I
on
can
top of
see
the car.
that.
So what was it?
sort
A
of
hat or a scarf?
correct, because it was a year ago. And when I gave my testimony, I said everything I could, like that I remembered at that time, which was
He's nervous,
person I saw had a hoodie on.
but he's doing a good job.
Wasn't really able to see them face to face, but I can see that they were sort of leaving the car, jumping over the hood of the car, just kind of, yeah.
Okay. And you did not see that person's face?
No.
Let's play just a couple more seconds here before we hit play, though. I just ask you to focus on the figure we've been talking about. And pause. At 31 seconds. Based on
And
what
he
you've seen so
turned
far in this
right.
exhibit, does that figure appear to be traveling in a path consistent with what you remember?
So
Yeah.
Objection, hearsay. You said
It-
you can't see the street from the window.
it's not hearsay.
Um,
It's his
overruled.
observation
You
of
may
what
answer
he
the way
saw.
that question was
Is it
raised.
consistent with what you saw?
When I mentioned the direction of the person that I
he
saw
turned
leaving,
right, so that's away from
facing my
downtown
driveway,
toward Los.
obviously there's an
Los-
exit which
the restaurant.
connects that entryway where all the cars are parked, and then our driveway where our garage is, and sort of the way that I saw the person leaving was towards the left of my field of view, which would be heading towards Maple Avenue.
I'm not going to show for the witness only, please. Exhibit number 66. You recognize the photograph on the screen in front of you?
Yeah.
What are we looking at here?
We're looking at the side of my house that faces kind of the other side of Maple Avenue, I guess you can say.
Okay. Are we on the same side of your house as the camera angle from the last exhibit?
No, we're not.
On the other side?
Yeah, the other camera on the school building was facing the right side of the house. This is facing the left side of the house.
Is this how your house appeared on the night of November 21st, 2021?
Yeah.
Move exhibit 66 into evidence and ask to publish.
Objection.
Exhibit 66 is received. Permission to publish is granted.
I'm surprised Brooks didn't object.
Do you see a vehicle in your driveway in this picture?
Yeah, it's the red SUV that I described.
We'll show now.
He's
for the
wasted
witness
an
only,
awful
please,
lot of
exhibit number
time.
66.
That's for sure.
You recognize this exhibit?
Yeah.
What are we looking at here?
And then
We're
factor in
looking
his
at my
rants
driveway,
and his
and then my house is to the right.
commentary under his breath.
And sort of,
Just-
this is kind of like the area that we were sort of looking at the car from.
and
We
then
close a
factor
little
in
bit
the
closer, but that's sort of
state plaintiff.
what I saw. that night.
Nonsense.
That is what I saw that night.
And actually, Judge, just to be a little more efficient with time, I'm going to move through the rest of these photos and lay the foundation and then move them all in at once.
Go ahead.
All right. We'll show the
He
witness
wants to
only,
go
please,
home for dinner.
68. You recognize that photograph?
Yeah.
What are we looking at here?
We're looking at the car, or the SUV, sorry, that
Got to
in
be
my
clear on
driveway.
that.
To the left, you can see
Brooks is still
a little
going to
bit of
get
a,
hung up on it.
kind of like a
You said
stump of log.
car. Sorry, SUV.
And
What do you mean by that?
I recognize those logs from the backyard of my neighbor's house, and it was sort of dragged all the way to our driveway as well.
So that's
We'll show the
probably
witness
what the
now,
collision
Exhibit
was,
69, please.
dragging the log.
What are we looking at in this photograph?
This is the other end of the driveway where all of our cars are. We can see
Do you
to the
think
left
dragging the log
one of our
is what
vehicles, the
left
white
the
SUV, and then the
substains
two
in his
vehicles, the blue
underwear?
SUV, and then the sort of the brown sedan. Is both those cars are not mine; they're our neighbors' vehicles. But one of them's in the backyard, and one of them's in the driveway.
Exhibit 70 for the witness only, please. Do you recognize this photograph?
Yeah, that's the other. That's the other vehicle.
The 4-year-old
from our
nephew
neighbor's
found
house.
the
So all
hammock.
three, those are all their vehicles. If you look further down, you can see the other
We
set
might
of
have to
houses
go
that are,
harass him in it if this ends
what's it
soon
called?
enough.
or the other set of houses that are on the same street from my neighbor's house. Our backyards connect.
Let's show the witness number 71, please.
Objection, what's the relevancy of all these photos?
It's showing the scene.
Your objection to relevance is noted. It's overruled. Go ahead.
But that's
Do you recognize what we're
unfair.
looking at in 71?
You're so
Yeah,
unfair to
that,
me. Why,
um,
why do you
that
overrule
house,
my
the White
objections
House,
but
or
not
sort of
theirs?
the one that's not to the side
This
to
is
the right.
treasonous
That's my neighbor's
bias.
house. And then to the right, that's sort of the back part of our house, first floor.
We show the witness number 72, please. Do you know what we're looking at in this picture?
Yeah, right here, those are sort of some of the logs, or as I mentioned before, one of the logs that
Were these like
one of them was actually
decorative
dragged into our
logs somehow?
driveway, and
Or
they
like
had a few of them
used to
sort of
retain
for, I'm assuming, sitting
garden
down, and
or border a garden?
this whole area was kind of messed up. This part of the yard is not our part of the yard; it's our neighbor's yard. But they had logs over there, and they were
As
kind of
Mike
just
would
as
also say,
decoration. Looking at this
mhm.
area when we went to go see,
I can't
one of
do
them
it
was
like
missing, and
it.
everything else was kind of beat up in that part of the yard.
And finally, 73 for the witness only, please. You recognize what we're
Objection.
looking at here in exhibit, I'm sorry, there's an objection.
Where's the relevancy of this, what we're looking at?
If
Your
Mike had
objection
been
is
covering this
noted.
whole
It's
thing,
overruled. I
he'd have
believe
a
the
few
witness is
more
going to
memes
explain.
added.
You can see sort of remains of like some of those logs that they, or like those stumps of logs that they had, and seems to be a car part from the vehicle as well.
Like I said,
Do
I
exhibits
sent
67
Mike's
through
clip of
73
yesterday's freak out
accurately
to my
portray,
friends just so that I was just
your
sending the
driveway,
relevant
your
portion.
backyard, and your neighbor's backyard as
The
they
one
looked
friend
the night of November 21st.
responded,
Yeah.
he's like,
And you
I'm 30
went
minutes
outside
in,
and looked at these things yourself,
and
correct?
oh my God, he's
Yeah, I
the
did.
worst.
When before the cops sort of arrived, when we were sort of hovering around the car, and my neighbors were contacting the police.
Exactly.
I was trying
I
to
need
see
to
if
get
any
the
damage
corgi
was
in
done to
here
our
for
vehicles,
the
because that was our
stream.
main concern, since we have no
Because,
idea what happened.
people
with the
subscribe
parade
for
or
Mike's
anything.
dogs, they subscribe
We
for
just try
Artie's
to go
cats.
see what happened to our
But
driveway.
we all know corgis win on the
uh,
internet,
what
so
we
I
needed to
so I
worry
need to
about,
get
but,
Menchie in to
yeah.
say hi.
I move exhibits 67 through 73 into evidence and request permission to publish.
Of course, the
Objection.
chickens and turkeys probably help too.
No relevancy.
Court notes the objection. It's overruled. Exhibits 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, and 73 are all received.
I feel
Permission to
obligated
publish.
to
Granted.
say Exhibit 69 is
Number
is
67,
received.
please.
Can the jury let me know
Nice.
the monitors are on in front of you? Not yet?
I think it is a law that if 69 is mentioned on the internet, you have to respond nice. So this is, it's dark, but it's the red Ford Escape next to the witness's house. just massive damage.
Thank you. Go ahead.
The underside, the bumper under the
Photo.
grill is
That's
hanging
the red
off
SUV we've
onto
been
the
talking about,
ground.
correct?
Yeah.
And we are facing, if you're the person taking the picture right now, are you facing towards Maple or away?
Away from Maple Avenue.
Let's take a look at 68, please.
Oh, wow.
This is just a close-up view of that red SUV.
In the words of
Yeah,
objection.
Anselmo, wow.
Sustained as to the form of the question.
What is
Just
this?
look at that.
It is the red SUV in my driveway, all beat up.
And you referenced a stump earlier when you were describing this photograph.
He mentioned a
Can you point that
log.
out for us? Maybe circle it for us?
Objection, relevancy as to a stump. What does that have to do with?
Overruled. The witness may answer.
That stump of log would
Car
be
for
sort of
sale,
on,
cheap.
that part of the picture.
The left side of the picture?
Yeah, the left side of the picture.
Can we
Oh.
please clear that, man?
It'll buff right out.
Was that stump in that position in your driveway before you saw this red SUV?
No.
Objection, relevancy.
Overruled. It's relevant. The witness may answer.
No.
Okay, let's take a look at Exhibit 69,
The-
please.
It being
So
there
what direction have we moved
explains
as we
what
go
the
from Exhibit 68
off-duty
to
dog
69?
walking cop heard.
We have moved more back of the driveway. We have moved looking, instead of the left side of the house, we're looking at the left back side of the house.
So we're moving away from Maple?
We're moving away from Maple Avenue.
Okay, and you already talked about these three cars. Can you just remind us what these three cars are?
That white SUV, that's one of our vehicles. The blue SUV is one of my neighbor's vehicles, as well as the brown sedan as well.
I'm not
as
coughing
we
as
can
much
see
as I
from this
was
picture.
when we started this
Do you know if any of
trial.
those three
but the
vehicles
Lingering
sustained damage
effects
on
of the
November
plague are
21st?
still getting me.
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled. He was asked if he knew, not what he heard.
Learn
Speculation,
what
speculation.
Overruled.
learn what hearsay is. Learn what
From-
speculation is.
When we were looking back during that area, when we saw our neighbor's yard, when we saw everything, I couldn't really see like damage right away from any of our vehicles. However, it's not in this
What's
image.
the count, Steve?
It's in the other image that I was shown earlier. There's a black SUV to the right of that brown sedan. That vehicle did have a little bit of a sort of some damage. What's it called? But apart from that, no, everything else was fine.
Let's move on to Exhibit 70, please.
Objection, what's the relevancy of this?
The exhibits have been received, so the state may question the witness on them.
What direction have we moved from the last picture to this picture?
We are now towards the back of my building or my house.
And did the person who took the picture, did we turn to the right or to the left or not at all?
We moved a little bit more towards the left, just getting a better angle of the back side of the house.
But now we're facing to the right?
Oh yeah, but
Objection,
now we're
leading.
facing right.
I can rephrase.
Go ahead.
Do you know where Prospect is?
Prospect, Prospect.
I
is,
thought we'd hit 150 at
it's
least.
a one-way street. You can't enter from Maple side. but
I
you
would
can
have
enter
thought
from the back
96
side.
would be low by
Prospect.
now.
Do you see a street light in this photograph?
Yes.
Of course, are they
Street is that
counting
street
just
light
That's
each objection or
Prospect.
every time he says
One-way street.
objection?
And
like the
red-
last one where
excuse me, the
he-
black SUV you
objection,
talked
hearsay,
about a moment ago,
overruled,
is that
objection.
in this photograph?
Relevancy.
Yeah,
Would that,
that
be two,
SUV right there.
or are they
That's
just
the
counting
SUV you
that
described
as
as having
one?
been damaged.
It was honestly not that much, just sort of kind of like the front of the SUV. There was a vehicle, however, from
That's your guess for the final total?
there was another image as well, looking at sort of the area,
Because when we came
sort of
back
the
from
path
lunch,
that was
I
between
thought
the
150.
Lox's house and the backyard. That one did sustain some scratches.
If we go to the next photograph, Exhibit 71, please.
Okay.
Okay. See the street light again?
Yeah.
Is that the same streetlight we saw in Exhibit 70?
So we could
Objection.
get there.
Answered that already. Same street light, same question, basically.
Different picture. Your objections noted. It's overruled. The witness may answer.
It is.
Do you see an orange cone in this photograph?
Objection, relevancy.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
I do.
What, if anything, do you see in the immediate vicinity
I
of that orange
appreciate
cone?
that.
Objection, relevancy.
Overruled. The witness may
I'm
answer.
clearly more entertaining other than
in
the
that sort of
counter.
area, I see
They probably have
the
less
black
hand
SUV,
waving and
right in front of it. I see some of those stumps of logs that I mentioned before. One that we saw previously was in my driveway, but some of those were kind of left behind but moved from place from their original
if I
spot.
weren't live streaming, I'd probably have 5
and,
tabs open right now
Yeah.
of things
zoom in
I'm
on the
doing
middle of this photograph, please?
simultaneously.
Do you recognize an object within a few inches of that cone?
Objection,
Yeah.
speculation.
It's not
Overruled. The
speculation.
witness may answer.
It's not
I
what do you
do.
think that is.
Well,
It's do you
what's it
recognize
called?
what that is?
I can see what it is, but I don't personally recognize it.
When you say you don't personally recognize it, what do you mean?
Leading,
I've,
objection, leading.
No, it's not. It's clarification.
I've never really seen it. It looks to be like a beanie, but I've never really seen it. Our family doesn't own it. We don't own it. It's
Okay.
not ours.
So you've never seen it in that backyard before?
No.
We zoom back out, please, and move to Exhibit 71. Excuse me, 72. These are the stumps you talked about earlier.
Yeah.
What direction is the photographer facing now?
Whereas we were facing sort of turning right, or I guess we were facing the left side of the building. Now we're facing the right side of the building, the same side that the video camera from Les Paul was facing in the previous video.
Okay, where's Prospect in relation to the photographer?
Was Les
Prospect
Paul
would
the
be,
guitarist
the
and
photographer.
guitar designer,
Is this what
From
these stumps looked like
Wisconsin?
earlier in the day on November 21st, before you saw the red SUV?
Objection, relevancy.
Overruled.
They do not, no, or they did not. They were set in place on the ground, and they were sort of a little bit more together because they were like a seating area for my neighbors.
Let's move to Exhibit
Okay,
7.
Les Paul is from Waukesha. I didn't realize that.
Car part you referenced earlier, is that what we're looking at here?
Yes.
I have
And
an
to
absolutely
your recollection,
gorgeous
Was
Les
that car
Paul
part in your
downstairs.
neighbor's backyard before you saw the
Plain
red
maple
SUV
top
on
with
November
a
21st?
Objection, speculation.
translucent red finish. Absolutely
no.
gorgeous.
My neighbor's backyard is pretty well kept up. They have a really nice.
I didn't
backyard.
realize that he was
They
from
don't have
Waukesha
any
though,
Garbage, no nothing in their backyard.
and I might have just been frozen when I was talking about my Les Paul guitar and Les Paul being from Waukesha. He's giving the side eye to the prosecution there. That was creepy. Wants to know what they're doing in their huddle. And Howard Hamlin behind him looks just bored and couldn't care
Now,
less.
so just for the witness,
about the testimony.
Exhibit 143. You recognize the vehicle in this photograph?
Yeah, this is the vehicle that I mentioned that sustained a little bit more damage, and it was like I mentioned before, it was through the pathway that that sort of connected the Lox's house and sort of their collection of or sort of their parked vehicles as well.
And where in the vehicle do you see damage? The front, the back, both, or neither?
Leading, objection.
Overruled.
It's
The
not
witness may
leading.
answer.
Where do you see damage?
It is on the back
It's
side
not.
of the vehicle.
Do you see that
towards the
damage
left
right there on the
or towards
right
the driver's
passenger side?
actually.
Can we show the witness only, please? Exhibit 144. You recognize this photograph?
Yeah.
I
You
mean,
see
he's
the
been
same vehicle?
behaving during this
Yes, it is
witness,
the same vehicle.
but I
And what
thought
are we
for
looking at
sure
here?
with his last rant
We're looking at now
that
the
he'd be gone.
driver's side still, but the front side of the vehicle.
And now.
I
with a
think
witness
Howard
only,
Hamlin,
please,
once he's
145.
done for the weekend, he's
Is that
definitely
photograph?
going to
Yeah,
have
this
to
is
do
the
something to
this is
wind
sort of
down.
the like I said, the SUV, and to the right
Like,
of it, you can see another
I really
car.
don't think
They have
he
more vehicles
cares
sort
about
of
the
parked in that
testimony.
area.
He's
And
there to
to the
keep,
left, you can see sort of a
keep
balcony
order.
area. That's sort of like that little
But I think even he's done
area. I
with,
guess you can see a little path that connects.
he's ready for the
that
weekend.
sort of driveway or parking area towards their yard. It's narrow.
Are exhibits 143, 144, and 145 accurate photographs depicting the scene as you recall from that night?
Yeah.
Move exhibits 143, 144, and 145 into evidence and ask to publish.
Objection. Relevancy to this matter.
All right, the
They're photographs of the crime
exhibits are
scene.
received. That's 143,
That's the
144,
relevancy.
145.
It's also the
Permission to
relevance.
publish is granted.
Okay, we're looking at 143. This is the vehicle you described?
Yeah.
Hey, look at that damage to the rear quarter panel. Or rear fender. Right
Okay,
next to
we've
the
got it up
tail
on the
light.
juror screens too. Now we'll take a look at 144, please.
They should have brought a better light.
This is the front of that same
They should have
vehicle.
brought a floodlight.
Objection. Relevancy to this matter.
It's relevant because it's damage you caused to the car.
It is. Now this is the
Front
part
driver's
of the-
side
of the vehicle,
fender
driver's
surrounding
side
the
stuff.
wheel is
Closest to the
all
the house.
scratched and dented.
145, please. The balcony on the left, that's your next door neighbor's house?
Yes, and then to the right of it is one of their vehicles, and yeah, to the left is their balcony. We can still see it in a previous image that's facing Prospect as well.
And this is the same, this Infinity we see in this photograph, that's the same vehicle we saw in the last two photographs.
Objection. Lead.
Overrule. Who may answer?
It is, yes.
Prospect is where in relation to the photographer?
Objection. Relevancy.
Overrule.
Orienting
the photographer
To the scene
Prospect is
is
to the
not
back of the
irrelevant.
So if you were to drive a vehicle between that porch
I
and
think
that
at this
Infinity
point
vehicle,
he's just objecting to bring the count
straight through
up,
that alley
Steve.
that we're looking at right now, you would be driving
He
toward or
must have
away
been
from
told
your
about the
house?
counter.
Objection. Hearsay.
Overrule.
Oh, objection and hearsay.
Speculation.
Overrule.
If you're
That's two
driving in between,
objections.
if you're driving away from Prospect, in between the balcony, in between the SUV heading that way, where the camera is facing, you'd be heading towards our backyard, our driveway, or the backside of our driveway.
All right, thank you. That's all I have for this witness.
Thank you.
Oh,
Any
so
cross?
Yeah.
he might not get any more objections in, except for objecting to her sustaining her objections.
So seeing the damage to the SUV that was parked in your driveway, it would be fair to say that the hood was pretty jacked up. Would that
Pretty
be fair to
jacked
say?
up. Yeah, that would be an understatement.
If we're talking about
The entire
the
front
red
fascia
SUV,
of the car was hanging
The
down.
vehicle in your driveway.
The Ford Escape or the red
there's
Infinity.
multiple vehicles in my driveway.
The one that's specifically in your driveway.
There's a damaged red Infinity SUV and there's a damaged red Ford Escape.
68. Exhibit 68. Where is it 68?
You've got to clarify which damaged vehicle.
You see it on your screen, Mr. Burke?
Yeah.
Is that the one you wanted to
Just
talk
wait
about?
until
Yes.
his direct
Oh, yes, 68 is
examination.
published.
And for the record,
The-
I do not identify by that name or consent to be in
The
court.
objection
For the
count
record.
will be in the
Can
multiple
you see it on
hundreds
your screen?
for his direct
Yeah,
examination.
the image I can see two SUVs.
It'll be
our
objection
white
leading,
SUV and
objection
then
leading,
the red
objection
SUV that I
leading,
mentioned
objection
is,
leading.
That's pretty well beat up.
But he asked you first if it was
Fair to say that
jacked
that
up.
hood is pretty beat up.
Yeah.
You can say it, yeah.
And you said you observed the driver of that vehicle
That's
jump
true.
over the hood?
I don't know how much redirect they're
I
going
wouldn't
to
say
need with
necessarily
this
jump over the
witness.
hood. Like I said, sort of jumping over the hood. You can say like kind of like
I mean, there
leaving,
might
kind of
be some rehabilitation needed,
sort
but
of-
I
it's
doubt
a little bit hard to explain.
I
but,
doubt Brooks is going
not
to
necessarily
damage his testimony
sliding
that
over the
much.
hood. Sort of going in front of the vehicle, sort of evading it.
He could have gone
So
over
what-
the
what would
bumper
you
that's hanging
characterize
on the
as a
ground
jump?
there.
As a jump, I guess you can say, definition wise, jumping is just jumping up and down, but colloquially, I guess we can say jumping over the hood of the car could be sort of evading the vehicle, going away from it, staying close to it, but sort of still being able to move in a quick fashion.
So would it be safe to say evading the vehicle? Well, let me back up. What do you mean by
Wait.
evading?
Safe
Would
to
that
say.
be trying to
Not fair
distance
to
themselves
say.
from the vehicle, or what would you define as evading?
Evading
Not
would be
running
sort of
into the vehicle.
trying to get away. So if you have a certain path, you can try to move to the side,
As in, he
step
didn't
aside,
run
kind
into
of
the
jump over
door.
it, I guess you can say. And from the image, we can see that the damage not only is attached to the vehicle, but there's some damage that's sort of
Hanging
spread
off
out
the
from the vehicle
vehicle.
as well. So jumping over it, stepping to the side of it, sort of falls within that same definition of jumping over a car, sort of evading it.
So that falls in with your definition of jumped over the hood with me.
Yes,
That'd be fair
he
to say.
said.
You can say.
It doesn't. This is irrelevant, anyways. This
And
isn't.
you said at one point when observing this, you closed the blinds at one point.
Yeah, our blinds are they were closed. We really don't have a like anything to look at apart from the building, apart from our driveway.
If I look out my window and someone could be
when I
looking
heard
back
the
at me,
vehicle,
I'd
or
close
when I
my
heard-
blinds. I don't.
Obviously, I wasn't really sure if it was a vehicle. When I heard the big scratch, sort of a halt, a scratch. As I looked out, as I peeped over the blinds, I was able to see the vehicle, and I was able to see the person sort of evading, jumping over the car, going away from the car.
You
4:30
said you heard a scratch.
in
What would you
Wisconsin.
define that as?
Obviously, not a scratch that you can say. Maybe not like a chalkboard one, but sort of if you can hear maybe like metal or maybe something
getting
on
dragged.
concrete. I guess you can define it as a scrape. I guess you can say a little bit better.
Was it a loud crash?
You couldn't really say it was a crash. You can hear
It
the
was an
sound that I
ongoing
heard.
sound.
I defined it as a scratch, or I guess you can say a scrape because it was
it was the
I'm
sound
sorry,
of
yeah.
something being dragged.
because it was more it was a little bit longer than just kind of like a big crash and it ended. You can hear something scraping.
So like a scrape,
Yeah.
That's what he said.
Um,
He said scrape.
but not a loud like bang.
Not necessarily, no.
And how long would you estimate you were observing before you closed the blinds?
I would say I would give it like a good 6 seconds. I would say 5 seconds. Yeah, it wasn't that long because like I mentioned, I thought it was somebody from downstairs. I wasn't really I was more concerned about what happened in our driveway just because I wasn't really sure what was going on.
Did anything get damaged in your driveway?
In our driveway, there was, I guess you can say, damage in however you may define it, like that log that we can see in the image was sort of dragged into our driveway. There was oil left in our driveway. There was debris left in our driveway as well. And if you could sort of count our backyard was pretty well beat up, sort of like you can see with our neighbor's backyard. The grass was sort of kind of beat up. Nobody really drives vehicles through that area, so it's pretty well kept.
So it's more like oil, logs, pieces of wood, that sort of thing.
Yeah, things were out of place from when we usually look at our backyard or how it was that morning.
And you stated that you can tell the general direction of Maple Street from your window, but you can't actually see it.
Yeah,
So that'd be fair to say.
yeah, because you know, I know where my house is located, and I know what street it's facing.
You know
and I
where your house is
what
located.
street or what is to the left of my house, and I know what's to the right of my house. So I know what general directions are around my house.
So if leaving your driveway, going towards Maple Street, if someone would to go right or left at that point, you wouldn't be able to tell.
From if we're speaking specifically from my driveway, if you're heading left away from my driveway, not towards the garage or towards that sort of garage area, if you're heading left, you are heading towards Maple Avenue. There's no other way from it.
And once coming from your driveway, if someone was headed that way, once they got to Maple, would you be able to see them at that point?
Not on Maple Street, no. Like I said, I know where the general direction as to where Maple is, but I can't really directly see Maple Avenue from the window that I was at. The window that's to the left of my window is sort of closer to that street, but I wasn't there.
And you didn't get a description of the driver.
What was the question? Sorry.
You didn't get a description of the driver.
Of the driver, yeah. When we
Other
were
than
questioned, or when I was
light
questioned
gray
by
or white
by
hoodie.
the detectives that visited us, I remember giving a good description of the driver. I said that he had a hoodie on. I remember mentioning that it was either a light gray or white. Like I mentioned before, since it happened in a flash, some of the white that I saw was part of that scarf that you can see on top of the hood. And in a previous image, we can see something hanging from the side view mirror, which is also a white, I guess you can say a white accessory that has sort of like a light colored band. And so at the moment, those are some of the colors that popped up during my recollection when the detective showed up. And I could describe the driver as being very able to run, move from the vehicle.
So it clearly wasn't
I
me.
was pretty sure as to
I'm in the
it being
clear.
not someone very young, maybe not an older individual, sort of physically capable of being able to run away and sort of still present within the moment of realizing what happened and sort of leaving the situation.
And you made that determination just by 5 or 6 seconds of observation out of your window.
Yeah.
You testified earlier that you saw someone, but you didn't see him face to face. That'd be fair to say?
Yeah.
And the logs that ended up in your yard, you stated that they came from your neighbor's yard. Would that be fair to say?
Correct.
Do you know what they used those logs for?
That they were sort of placed around. They have a few decorations around their yard.
So they
They have
were
a
decorative.
fireplace. They have some seating areas. Those logs were sort of just there to sort of sit down because they're little stumpy logs.
I mean, the
They had
prosecutor
some
did
sort
say
of,
what,
I mean, as you can see from the image, they're sort of
could you see him?
put
And
together
he's
by
like,
some
yeah,
metal band. So
saw
they're
hoodie.
not really just there
That's
for
all
use,
he
but more
ID'd.
they were just kind of put there for them to sit around.
So pretty much just if they're out there in the yard, they may use them to sit on, some of that nature.
Correct. Yeah.
You recall how many logs were out there?
Not necessarily. I can say maybe 4 or 3. I knew they were there, but I couldn't really tell you the exact number. But I have a general idea of what's in their yard.
And you stated at some point, you and friends or family member, I'm not sure which one you said, but y'all kind of gathered around the vehicle at some point.
Yeah. When I was the first one to head on down because I was the first one to see.
I know.
Sort of the vehicle.
And that's
when
it.
I went out,
The
I tried contacting my
prosecution
neighbors from
has asked
downstairs.
them
They
as
tried
far
investigating,
as
like if anybody had a
they were
red car, a
able
red
to
SUV or
identify
anything.
them in the
and
past,
he came back to me
but
and said no.
they haven't
And I told
gone.
him that there's a vehicle in our driveway.
If
and
they
so
didn't in their
everybody
report
came
say,
out, everybody
I saw
was
the
sort of looking
face,
at the vehicle, and everybody
the
was pretty
prosecution
confused
hasn't been
because
asking,
nobody
did you see the
Nobody
face?
recognized it as theirs or anybody they knew.
So it was more of a, let's go see what he's talking about and figure out if it belongs to anyone type of thing.
That was the main purpose. We were trying to figure out what was going on because we
And they
never
quickly
recognized
figured
the
out
vehicle. We've never
Your
seen
car
it
didn't
before.
belong
Or
there.
I've never seen it before, and as soon as I described it to them, they've never seen it before. And they have quite a few people around that visit them, or they had quite a few people that used to visit them a lot. And even then, they couldn't recognize the vehicle.
So what did you guys do from that point after coming out and kind of all collectively observing the vehicle?
Call the
What did
police.
you do from that point?
As soon as that happened, not that long away, we
People were running past
contacted the
and
police
said,
because
call the
we
cops.
were concerned of like sort of the vehicle as to why it was left there, or who left the vehicle there. And so when we started seeing people leaving or heading down from Maple Avenue away from downtown Waukesha, we started kind of maybe speculating that it was probably involved in because everybody knew that there was a parade going on, and we started maybe recollecting that maybe it was part of the parade or maybe something happened, especially because when we were looking at people leaving the parade, some of them looked scared, some of them were kind of walking faster than usual, some running. We were a little bit concerned.
He
We were just
realized
trying to
something
figure out what
was
going on.
wrong, and that
So it'd be fair to say at that
the
point,
highly
it was just
damaged car was
confusion.
probably involved
no
in it.
No knowledge of anything happening at that point.
Since we weren't at the parade, no. At that moment, we just saw a vehicle in our driveway, and we were trying to figure out what was going on.
Do you recall what you were doing right when you looked out the blinds? Like what were you doing leading up to hearing the scrape and then looking out the blinds?
Like I said, since I was when I explained first when I heard the vehicle and in the first questioning, I mentioned that I was just kind of sitting down. We have a chair, or not a chair, but we have kind of like a recliner couch, and I was just kind of having a regular afternoon. And since I'm right by the window, as soon as I heard something, I was able to try to investigate what was that noise or what that noise was.
And at the point that you called law enforcement, do you recall how long before law enforcement came to the scene?
I personally didn't call law enforcement. Like I said, our neighbors called law enforcement. So I couldn't really say an exact time, but they were there fairly quickly. And as soon as they arrived, we were just told to get inside, back in the building.
I'm sorry, can you clear the exhibit? I forgot it was.
Please,
I forgot
again.
Do you recall who took the photographs?
The photographs, no.
Police. He was told
Were
to go
they part of
inside until the scene
collective
was
group that all
cleared.
kind of met up to figure out what was going on with the vehicle?
It was police.
Nobody was actually taking photographs during that time. They were the neighbors downstairs were sort of, what's it called?
could
they were
be.
just kind of inside the building, and as soon as I left the building, we were just kind of looking at it, and we were trying to figure out what was going on. At the moment, we were just trying to see if we can get help because we weren't really sure what was going on.
So the photographs that you saw on the exhibits today, that was this your first time seeing those photographs?
The photographs specifically, yes, but the vehicle and the whole scenery, no.
No, just the photographs. Was what you saw today,
He
was that
just
your
said-
first time seeing
he just
those
said-
photographs?
These
He hadn't
photographs,
seen the
Yes.
photos yet.
No.
So you've seen them before today?
I was able to see sort of the what's it called, the whole situation, and I was able to sort of
He saw the
you know,
scene.
be aware of what was going on.
I'm asking specifically about the exhibits, the photos. Had you seen those before today?
He
Before
said
today, yes.
And do you recall who showed them to you?
It was mostly just detectives trying to figure out what was going on, sort of that line of questioning that I went through.
And you did say you don't know who took the photographs. Do you recall if the law enforcement that came to the scene took the photos?
When we were
I'm
asked to
guessing
go back
it was
inside,
the
yeah,
detective.
when they were trying to
Or,
investigate
well, the
what was going
officer
on,
who
there was
testified-
investigators taking photographs. and
He was
people
directed
trying
to the
figure out what
car
was going
and
on.
took the photo of the car that he testified
So to the
about.
best of your knowledge, you
probably
do know who took
him.
the photographs.
Not personally.
He doesn't
no.
know who it
There
was.
was people taking
He's-
photographs, but
So
He
multiple
can guess
officers.
it was police.
yes.
And that night of the incident, when the vehicle was found and the law enforcement officers were taking the photos, did you see the photos at that time?
Why?
No.
Why would he? He was directed into his house.
And would it be fair to say that you were subpoenaed to come and testify today?
Yeah.
I was subpoenaed to come testify.
Do you recall by whom?
By the what would you say? Just by this, not the state, but the city of Waukesha, or the town of Waukesha.
District
County.
Attorney's Office, officer, or
Just when I received the subpoena letter, it was just from Waukesha. What's it called? Not really. I don't recall any name specifically on the letter, but I just remembered I was being subpoenaed by. the
It's
city of
almost
Waukesha.
like
do you recall
him
when you
having to
received
show
that
up for
subpoena?
court is the important
maybe
part
about,
of it.
Maybe like a month before, or maybe 2 months before this happened, or before.
Before today, you mean?
I mean,
I wouldn't say exactly
it
before
could
today,
help.
but maybe before the
calm
trial.
his nerves.
Sometime in
Testifying's
August.
nerve wracking. So I mean, it's not good to testify stoned, but at the same time, it's like if it helps to calm him down.
The neighbor who's as we saw in the photos in the exhibit, there was a neighbor whose car had scrapes. Do you recall if they filed any claim in regards
How
to
would
the
he know?
scrapes?
How would he know?
In regards to the scrapes, no, just because they weren't actually there. I think they were actually at the parade, and since all of Maple was kind of shut
And
down
once
as
again,
soon as the police
The
showed up,
witness doesn't know what
I
he
think
means
they had
by
trouble
filed
getting
a
in
claim.
or getting to their house. So they got there late as soon as everything was cleared up.
I know.
And the day after, they were able to see the damage to their vehicle, and they were able to sort of after that whole situation, they sort of knew what had happened, and they probably figured that the damage that was caused.
I mean, this is
was
all
probably
speculation
from
about
from the vehicle
what the
that was
neighbors
in the
might have
parade. So
done.
I don't think filing a claim was probably their main concern at the moment, because yeah.
I
I
do you
mean,
recall having any
I'd object to
conversations
it
with
so fast if you
the
asked.
owner of the
but
vehicle at some point? Maybe they may have wanted to asked if anyone
Acts.
heard what had transpired. Do you recall having any conversations with him?
This is
About what happened that night?
irrelevant.
Objection, hearsay.
Grounds.
Well, the way that he asked it is just, did they have conversations? I'll let
It's
the witness answer
irrelevant.
that specific question without disclosing the content first. Did you have any conversations?
After it was the day after the incident that I talked to the neighbor.
I mean, everyone in the room, except maybe the jury, but well, the witness.
Was
The
anyone
jury
else
knows.
present?
He's
in,
trying to
your
get into
home
the sovereign
the
citizen.
night of the incident that may have seen
nonsense.
anything to your recollection?
Not necessarily. Like I said, our neighbors were downstairs, and I had to contact them to let them know what was going on. I told, like I said, my little brother was there, but he has autism, so he's in his own world. And my mom was also in the building, and then she was sort of confused as to what was going on because I had to go tell her, like, hey, like someone caused damage to our cars, like let's go see what happened. And what's it called? As soon as I did that, everybody was aware. But yeah.
Was your family vehicles damaged?
Our vehicles, no.
He really wants to get into the plaintiff nonsense.
After you contacted your neighbors who were downstairs, do you recall anyone telling you that their vehicles may have been damaged in any way?
At the moment of the incident?
Yes.
No, they were all.
I mean,
at the moment of the incident,
he
like I said, we were all
observed
sort
damaged
of,
vehicles.
looking at the vehicle, and we were sort of walking around. There was a select few of us that went back, and then we were sort of seeing some of the damage that was made to the yard. And what's it called? We, as soon as they were calling the cops, none of them really, said that they had like damage to their car. I could see part of the black SUV that was sort of a little bit touched
He
up.
gets
but it wasn't
hyper
as bad
focused
as,
on
Infinity that
irrelevant
was,
things,
in my
but he
neighbor's
just
house.
digs in.
After
And I
the
really
law
don't
enforcement came
know
to the scene, I'm
what
sure
he thinks he's
that
getting
you
out of
had brief conversations with
that.
him. Did anyone from law enforcement ever contact you again after that point about additional information that maybe you missed that night?
At the exact moment of the situation, as soon as law enforcement showed up, we were told immediately to head back up to our house, back inside. A little bit after, we were contacted by some detectives, and that was
Gave
that
their
same night. We were
statements.
just contacted once, and then the day after the incident, we were contacted again.
So anytime after the day after, did you have any contact
I
with
don't
any law
blame
enforcement
them.
about the
It's been
incident
a long
that,
week.
that night?
That day after.
Because remember,
And then after that,
the
none?
court went till
after
6:30 last
that,
night,
yeah.
almost
Was
7.
that
They didn't get
a ways off
home
a little time
at
after?
7
or
o'clock.
Was it still relatively close
They
to the
got
event?
home at 10,
So
11.
the first times that that I was sort of contacted by detectives was the day after, and what's it called? And I was contacted later on by sort of victim help, but we never really reached out. But apart from that, not. And then I was contacted again before the trial as well. So that would be a little bit closer to the trial.
You just said victim help. Can you explain what victim help is?
Well, I couldn't really specify what it is because I really never reached out, but we were reached out by I don't know if they were
It would be
an
a victim's
organization or just help
advocate.
from the county for people that suffered from the parade. And we were also reached out because we were involved in the situation, just because our house was sort of in the whole mess, and
Right, with
we
the
sort of
vehicle being found in your driveway.
Let him
we were sort
answer.
of pretty
Don't
pretty shaken
interrupt
up
him.
about the situation too. So when we talked to detectives, we were all pretty shaken up. I was pretty shaken up, sort of scared, sort of frustrated too.
So, why did you follow up with victim care if you had, a few concerns after the incident? What prompted you not to follow up with victim care?
Objection.
Grounds.
It's
I don't know
possible
this
he
round.
heard
I'll
the
just
judge
leave it
say,
at
"I
that.
want to end court at 4:30." He's like, "Oh yeah." And the thing is that the prosecutors are they're bored because all of this is irrelevant, or at least inconsequential, I should say.
And are you aware who the plaintiff is in this matter?
Shut him down. Shut him down.
Yes.
Call it a day.
And who would the plaintiff be?
Plaintiff being sort of, or I guess you can say the defendant, Darrell Brooks,
Well,
The defendant would be the plaintiff?
or not the defendant,
he's
but a plaintiff, or
this
I
is
guess what's it called? Could you
stop.
kind of sort of
The plaintiff
Stop. Just
would
stop.
be
Shut it down, Judge.
who is actually bringing the claim.
the plaintiff bringing the claim?
Who's bringing the claim?
He-
of the plaintiff.
That would
Shut
be
him
the
down.
city of Waukesha. Sorry.
Shut him down.
The city of Waukesha?
I'm confused by the questioning. Of how
Shut
many
him
people, to be
down.
honest.
This witness is not qualified to testify about that
Grounds,
anyway.
answer.
He answered it. May stand. Next question, please.
He's not. He can't answer it. He doesn't know it anyway. Aside from it being abusive sovereign citizen nonsense.
And you stated that at that time you didn't there was confusion about what was going on. So just so we're clear, you at that time you didn't learn any information about what had transpired at the parade.
He's
at
not
that
testifying about what happened at the parade.
At that time,
He's testifying about what
specifically,
happened in his
Can you
driveway.
specify what time?
at the time that you observed the vehicle in your driveway and then had the initial I guess friends and family kind of like
During that time window.
during that time, yeah.
During that time window, like you mentioned, as soon as I witnessed the vehicle, I had no idea what was going on in my driveway or what led to that vehicle being left in my driveway. And like I mentioned before, as soon as we being our neighbors from downstairs and my mom, we all went downstairs and we kind of
Come on.
looked at the vehicle.
He's not
and then we started
testifying about what happened at the
realizing what was
parade.
going on. As
His
soon as we saw
his
people leaving the
knowledge of what
parade,
happened at the parade
leaving
is
away from downtown
inconsequential.
Waukesha. And we were able to sort of figure out what was going on, but not necessarily like exactly what happened.
And you stated you saw people running from the downtown area or from the other way. I can't remember which one you said, but you said you saw it was kind of like people were kind of all over the place.
You don't remember
Not
that they were
necessarily
running
all
away
over the place, I would say.
from downtown?
There was a cohesion as to the direction that people were leaving or heading towards. It looked like people were heading towards, not towards, but more away from downtown Waukesha. So
You said like a library coming from the way of a library or something.
the library is closest to the downtown Waukesha area. So they were heading away from that sort of general direction.
You made a reference to they was going towards the direction where train tracks were.
Yeah, so that'd be going away from Waukesha or downtown Waukesha.
Do you recall do you recall how many people it were? Was it a lot of people? Was it?
There was quite a bit of people, yeah. It
was
wasn't just
17
one
and a
person, two
half.
people. There was people. There was some people carrying their children, some other people kind of with strollers and stuff.
Generally like a crowd.
I guess you can say,
This-
but they were all sort of still in the street, sort of still walking.
This is so
with
stupid.
other belongings, yeah.
He's such
Did
a
any one of
moron.
them mention what had happened at that time that you recall?
We
Grounds.
Grounds.
It does call for hearsay. Do you want to ask him that? You just want to know if he
I
talked
was
to them?
asking, did he, to his recollection, did any one of the people that was moving away from the area, did they say anything that he recalls?
That's hearsay.
Calls for hearsay. Do you want someone to sustain the objection?
You could sustain.
Okay.
Oh, she can sustain. How magnanimous of him, allowing her to sustain it.
And that do it. No more questions.
Oh,
Okay, thank you.
wow.
Can you redirect?
Very, very briefly, Your Honor. Can we please
Wow.
put up exhibit number 66, which has previously been published? I asked to publish it again.
Go ahead.
And while we're waiting for that to come up on the jury monitors.
It really
I'll ask
could just
to
be
ask you that
nerves.
From the moment
Once
you
again, no
arrived
judgment.
downstairs and saw the vehicle in your driveway
I-
until the moment that the police arrived.
He's
were
a
you
young
standing near the
kid.
vehicle that whole
I
time?
think he's nervous.
Overruled.
So when the officers arrived, the first responders, I guess you can say, when they first arrived,
Exactly.
we were
Most people aren't law
not
nerds.
necessarily like right by the vehicle, but we were sort of in that general area, right by the balcony area. And as soon as they showed up, we were told to just get back inside. So we just walked back inside the building. But yeah, we weren't really right on top of it. We were just kind of by that area.
When you say balcony, you're referring to the front balcony closest to Maple?
Oh, sustained is to the form of the question.
When you say balcony, what balcony are you referring to?
I guess I say balcony, but more like porch. In a previous photograph or in another photograph, we were able to see some chairs in that porch area, and that's sort of kind of where everybody was hanging around. And as soon as the cop showed up, they told us to get back inside.
So you're talking about the backyard.
Objection, leading.
Sustained is to the form of the question.
What yard are you talking about?
The yard that we were hanging around.
Yes.
That would be sort of the front yard, when the first responders showed up, because as soon as they showed up, they told us to get back inside, and we went back inside right away.
From the moment you got downstairs until the moment that the first responders arrived, did you see anybody else walk up to the vehicle?
Objection.
Aside from your group.
Objection.
Just hold on a second. Wait, Judge.
Grounds.
Speculation.
It's not speculation if he saw people walk up to the vehicle.
So on the vehicle, sorry, can you repeat the question? I forgot about it. I'm sorry.
Aside from the people in your group, the people you knew, from the moment you got downstairs and saw the SUV in your driveway until the moment that the first responders arrived, did you see anybody else walk up to the vehicle?
Objection. Speculation.
It's not speculation. You already objected to it. It was.
So yeah, so
was
between
denied.
that time, no, nobody else approached the vehicle. All the people that were around the area were people that were with my neighbors, and then just me and my mom as well. Nobody else walking from the parade.
Can we zoom in on the house and exhibit number 66, please?
Objection, relevancy.
It's previously been admitted.
Do you see the window that
He's
you were
just
looking
trying to
out
bring
of
the
on the
counter
second
up
floor
for you,
in this
Steve.
picture?
Yes.
At this
Can you
point.
circle it for us?
It'd be right about here, or yeah.
Can we please preserve that annotation, mark it as 66A, and I'd move that into evidence?
Objection, what's the relevancy?
It's showing the window
The
he looked
objections
out of.
Noted 66A is received.
Of course, it's relevant where he saw you from.
All right, thank you, sir. You may step down.
I mean, how could it possibly not be relevant
Was he on your?
The
list of
window
subpoenas?
he saw
I
you run away from the
don't believe
SUV
so.
from.
I don't believe so.
You don't know who's on
Then
your
he may
witness
be
list?
dismissed. Or excuse, sorry. Okay,
I'd
ladies
know
and
who was
gentlemen
on
of the
my
jury,
witness
I have
list.
the
If I didn't,
instruction
I'd
once
have it
again
right
to
in front
read
of me
to
to
you.
look.
Please do not begin your deliberations and discussion of the case until all the evidence is presented and I have instructed you on the law. Do not discuss this case among
We can't
yourselves
fast
or with
forward
anyone
through
else
the
until your final
admonishments today.
deliberations in the jury room. This order is not limited to face-to-face conversations. It also extends to all forms of electronic communications. Do not use any electronic devices such as a mobile phone or computer, text or instant messaging, or social networking sites to send or receive any information about this case or your experience as a juror. If you come in contact with the parties, lawyers, interpreters, or witnesses, do not speak with them. For their part, the parties, lawyers, interpreters, and witnesses will not contact or speak with you. Do not listen to any conversation about this
And
case.
we'll see
Do
if
not
he has any
research any
freakouts
information that you
after
personally think
the
might be helpful to
admonishment.
you in understanding the issues
And
presented.
then we'll
Do not investigate this case
watch
on your own
the
or visit the scene, either in
quick
person or by
9-minute
any electronic means. Do not
Parkland
read any newspaper reports or listen to any news reports on radio,
Nicholas
television,
Cruz
over the internet, or any other electronic
juror
application or
threat.
tool about this
Oh,
trial.
he's got the
Do not
Bible
consult
open.
dictionaries, computers,
He's got his
electronic
Bible,
applications,
but
social media,
not
the
the rules of
internet, or other
evidence,
reference
not
materials for
hearsay.
additional information.
I
Do not
doubt
seek
hearsay is
information
in
regarding
that
the public
Bible.
records of any party or witness in this case. Any information you obtain outside the courtroom could be misleading,
That's the final
inaccurate, or
tally.
incomplete. Relying on this information is unfair because the
Ugh.
parties would not have the opportunity to refute, explain,
I would
or
have thought
correct it.
grounds
Do
would
not
be
communicate
higher
with
than
anyone about this
objection,
trial or your
since he
experience
repeats
as a juror
grounds.
while you are serving
Whereas
on this jury.
objection
Do
is
not use a
usually
computer,
just
cell phone, or
once.
other electronic device, including personal wearable electronics applications or tools with communication capabilities, to share any information about this case. For example, do not communicate
I mean,
by
is
telephone,
he reading
blog
the
post,
Bible
email,
just
text
for
message, instant
show
message, social
for the
media
jury?
post, or in any other way on or off the computer. Do not permit anyone to communicate with you about this matter, either in person, electronically, or by any other means. If anyone does so despite your telling them not to, you should report that to me. I appreciate that it is tempting when you go home in the evening to discuss this
seriously
case with
think he's
another
got
member
that
of your
open for
household,
show.
but you may not do so. This case must be decided by you, the jurors, based on the evidence presented in the courtroom. People not serving on this jury have not heard the evidence, and it is improper for them to influence your deliberations and decision in this case. After the trial is completed, you are free to communicate with anyone in any manner. These rules are intended to assure that jurors
He really
remain
does need to
impartial
study
throughout
the rules of
trial.
evidence
If
this
any
weekend,
juror has
though.
any reason to believe that another juror has violated these rules, you should report that to me. If jurors do not comply with these rules, it could result in a new trial involving additional time and significant expense to the parties and the taxpayers. You are to decide the case solely on the evidence offered and received at trial. With that, you are excused for the weekend. We will see you Monday morning.
The
at
cathedral
8:30.
in
All rise for the
Durham,
jury.
where I did my master's degree, it's a 1,000-year-old cathedral, and it's in the first couple Harry Potter movies as part of the Hogwarts set. But they have a giant sanctuary knocker on the door. It's a replica on the door now, but they have the original inside. And reading about sanctuary is pretty interesting. Of course, sanctuary was mostly a chance to get your affairs in order
All right, I'll see
for
everyone
exile.
on Monday morning at 8:30. We are in recess. Thank you, everyone.
I could get behind that. Branding iron across his forehead. Objection. And I guess he's not going to argue. So let's find the next tab. If StreamYards wants to work. All right. So I guess he'd have 6 M's across his forehead. That's fine. Um, so that was an that was an interesting day. And let's finish it off. This is a clip Steve sent me. I haven't seen it. Apparently, there was misconduct among the jurors in the Parkland trial that ended yesterday. Um, it's a 9-minute clip, so let's take a look.
We're here this afternoon on the state's motion to interview juror SF230. I've had the opportunity to review the state's motion as well as the defense response. Before we get into it, there is another matter that I need to place on the record. Yesterday, after the verdict was read and after I left the bench to go back to my office, the bailiffs advised me that there were 2 jurors that wanted to speak to me, Ms. Kunha and Mr. Binbao. I, of course, told them that that's not appropriate. I cannot speak to a juror. Then Mr. Binbao asked if there was a complaint form that he could fill out. And my answer was no. And I didn't think any more of it because I had no idea what he would be complaining about. I didn't foresee that it was something about the trial. I thought maybe he was upset about.
Did she
parking
think he
another
was a
week so long.
Karen
I
or
wasn't really sure. So I found out later that actually Mr. Binbao was trying to get my attention
that really is an odd
either
setup for a
during or
courtroom?
directly after the verdict was being read, and he was saying, I need to talk to the judge, I need to talk to the judge. And I was not informed of that, and I did not see him. The bailiffs did not want him to interrupt me, so I wasn't made aware of that, and they gave him a Post-it with a pen, and then they were excused. So that's the order that I received the information, even though the order in which it happened was he tried to get my attention while we were in court. I didn't see him, and
And she said this was
he asked to
before
speak to me, from what I understand,
the
a couple
verdict
of
was
times.
rendered.
With that, I just wanted all of the parties to be aware of exactly what happened with Mr. Binbao. Now,
Can we
as
write
far as the state's
to
motion is concerned,
Mr. Brooks?
I don't think the statutory requirements have been met because I don't think the state has alleged that the verdict could be subject to legal challenge. However, if there was a crime that was potentially committed in the Broward County Courthouse in the jury room,
I mean,
think that if the sheriff
you
were to look
could.
into it, that would be
I wouldn't, especially until after
entirely
the
appropriate
trial.
under the circumstances.
Yes, Your Honor. May I address the court?
Sure.
Good afternoon. First of all, Your Honor, the reason the state filed the motion is that we are not seeking to set aside the verdict.
Okay.
This motion was filed for safety reasons.
Okay.
We do not have an ulterior motive, so I want to put everyone's.
So they're not going to try to reopen the death penalty.
However, an allegation by a juror where they leave a message that they have received what they have perceived to be a threat from a fellow juror in the jury room cannot be ignored. This is a safety issue.
It is.
I repeat, we are not trying to set aside the verdict.
I don't actually know if jury tampering can occur from a fellow juror.
Person is frightened, and the reason I use the word frightened is that the support staff member who took the call said that the person.
But the thing is, if a juror voted based on a threat,
I did not put that in our.
it's difficult. I don't know.
Editorialize on the.
I really do not know. I mean, if a Cruz supporter had threatened a juror, it could result in.
It may be nothing, but it may.
I just don't know.
There's no immunity for a crime that could have occurred in a jury room.
So she said no immunity for a crime that could have occurred in a jury room.
Crime could have been committed back there, and it needs to be looked into.
And I don't know if that would be like a menacing assault or if it would be jury tampering, because jury tampering is generally a felony.
We know we cannot do that, and that the only vehicle to bring this to the courts and the party's attention is to file this motion, and we have asked an uninterested party, which would be law enforcement, to speak to the juror. Frankly, we don't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole.
It is Florida, though.
That the defense will be jumping up and down and saying that we are trying to undermine verdict, which we are not trying to do.
This is a good prosecutor. I like her argument here.
Ignore a safety issue.
I agree. And certainly if there were people doing things that they were not supposed to be doing, we need to be made aware of it. Not that it's going to change the outcome, but certainly that shouldn't happen.
From what I've
People
seen,
shouldn't
I'm
be
not sure what I
hesitant to
think
serve
of
on
this
juries in the
judge.
future, if they hear that
I definitely like Judge
jurors
Darrow. I'm
are
not sure about this judge.
required to exhibit appropriate behavior during the deliberation.
Although I think I understand why she was chippy with the defense also, so I can't hold that against her.
Part of the conversation on headphones that the juror who left the message is not the same juror who left you a note, which was made a part of the court file. It's a different juror.
And it's not Mr. Benbow. I mean, their names are public record, which is why I'm using them.
It is not Mr. Benbow.
Is
Okay.
Mr. Benbow the one that voted for life?
Whose note was made part of the court file yesterday. It's a different juror.
Okay. I mean, I don't really think there's anything else to discuss.
After the verdict is
The
rendered,
sheriff's
it's not
office
always
has
just
jurisdiction.
juror
They've been made
number.
aware of
It
the
usually
situation,
is.
And
But I don't
they can
think it's
do
illegal
or not
either.
do with this. I mean, I'm not going to order.
It doesn't
them to
sit well
investigate,
with
but
me
I think that
using their
certainly
names.
if that's a matter that they.
But
feel
if
is
it's not
appropriate for
sealed,
a criminal
it
investigation,
is
that's what they
public
should do.
record after the trial's over.
Your Honor, will you give us
If it's not
permission,
sealed.
give us a phone message, permission to turn over the name to the court so that you can turn it over to law enforcement?
Absolutely.
You want to do that on headphones or we can give it directly?
Why don't you give it directly? I know that there is Sergeant, I called him Lieutenant the other day. He's so professional that I gave him a promotion. Sergeant Hendricks is here, and
I mean,
I'm
they have
sure
the right
he's
to
our point person that
privacy,
would be happy to
but
receive
not
the
necessarily the
information,
right
pass it
to
along.
anonymity.
We call him Jason.
Those are different. So, like, the right to privacy
Thank
is
you.
you're
We're
not
in recess.
required to give any interviews. You're not required to even entertain the media. You can tell the media to F off. But yeah, it doesn't sit well with me reading their names immediately. But like I said, I don't know that it's disallowed either. I don't think it is. It is a case by case basis. Like you look at the Depp trial, they're sealed for a year, but they will come out eventually. And so they just wanted to wait for the publicity to die down. So and yeah, that definitely was interesting. I like how the prosecutor confirmed the verdict stands. We're not challenging that. We realize we can't challenge it. It's done, but we think a crime might have been committed, and we think it needs to be put on the record, and it needs to be investigated. So I think that was the right way to do it. And that's it. Investigating jurors because you don't like how they voted is dangerous. But investigating them if you think they committed a crime in it, like if there's actual evidence, if another juror alleges they committed a crime, or if you have evidence that a juror received a bribe, then yeah, that needs to be investigated. But yeah, yeah. So that was definitely interesting. We'll see if anything comes of it. I I don't know if it will in this 5-second news cycle society we have. Um, it 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 might just get brushed away into the ether. And be a little blurb on the bottom of page 5 of some dead newspaper a year from now. But and that's it. It could be a Karen. It could be a Karen. I I wouldn't know. I But with that, it's 1 minute away from 420 here in Utah, which means absolutely nothing to me, but to that last witness, it might mean something, except it would be 520 there in Wisconsin. Um, so with that, I'm going to leave you. Do all the YouTubey things. Chances are I'm taking the weekend off. Although if I get bored, I might try to do a short, and I mean short, not stream with the sovereign citizen video I've been saving up, which I'm sure you've all heard, but not with my corny jokes. Uh, Either way, I will see you guys bright and early Monday morning. So thanks for hanging out today. See ya.